Chapter 43-53. Outside the thunder pool, the Jiu Yuan sat silently on a protruding boulder. The slight footsteps attracted the attention of the Jiu Yuan. He slowly opened his eyes and looked at Chen Yin behind him. "Cousin, it's not so easy to understand the thunder source diagram. Brother Mo, one can't have any harvest without thousands of years. It's only been 3 days now. If you want to stay here, I'm afraid you have to wait in vain. It's better to go back first. If Brother Mo really can't hold on, he will naturally send me a message, and I will inform you as soon as possible." Chen Yin walked to the Jiu Yuan, slowly squatted down, and looked at the endless thunder raging in the thunder pool with complicated eyes, and said in a deep voice, "Brother Mo won't take too long. He once said that within 10 days, if he can't succeed, he will give up." The Jiu Yuan said. Fei Pengze and others started half a month later, and Zhuowen practiced in the Black City for 5 days, so that is to say, there are only 10 days left before Fei Pengze and others start. Zhuowen only has these 10 days to try. If he can't succeed, Zhuowen knows that he has no other way. He can only take one step at a time. 10 days? Chen Yin suspected that he had heard it wrong. This Mo1 is joking. The thunder source diagram has not been cracked for countless years by their thunder array family. This guy actually wants to have a harvest in 10 days. It can only be described as wishful thinking. Forget it, it seems that this Mo1 just wants to see the thunder source diagram. After he leaves the thunder source diagram, he will understand the vastness and profoundness of the thunder source diagram. He is far from comparable. Chen Yin thought secretly, and looked down on Zhuowen more and more. In his eyes, Zhuowen has become an arrogant person without self-knowledge. He even regretted promising Zhuowen to let him try to enter the thunder source diagram. "Cousin, you'd better stay away from that Mo1 in the future. I don't think he's worthy of being your friend." Chen Yin whispered and began to worry that Zhuowen would have a bad impact on the Jiu Yuan. The Jiu Yuan shook his head and didn't say anything. His heart was like a mirror, and naturally he could see what Chen Yin was thinking now. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, there were several explosions in the thunder pool, which attracted the attention of Chen Yin and the Jiu Yuan. When their gazes landed on the lightning pool, they were instantly dumbfounded. All of a sudden, the thunderstorm, thunder dragon, and other types of violent thunderbolts that filled the lightning pool suddenly became much more docile. They all began to move towards the stone tablet in the center of the lightning pool. Inside the lightning pool, all kinds of lightning energy surged into the depths of the stone steel like moths to a flame. On the other hand, the stone tablet did not reject anything. Like a whale sucking in water, it absorbed all the lightning energy that surged over from the surroundings, leaving not a single drop behind. In the blink of an eye, the extraordinary lightning pool turned into an ordinary basin. There was no longer any violent lightning energy. What is going on? The lightning pool's lightning energy was actually absorbed by the thunder origin array diagram? Chen Yin panicked. The lightning pool was the forbidden ground of the lightning array clan, and it was the natural protection of the lightning origin array diagram. And now, the lightning pond had disappeared. To their lightning formation clan, it could be said to be an enormous loss. Gotcha! A crisp shattering sound rang out. In the silent lightning pool, it was so crisp and ear-piercing. Chen Yin's eyes were dull as he discovered that the stone tablet that stood in the center of the lightning pool had countless cracks. The dense gravel began to fall off the surface of the stone tablet and fell to the ground. Following the shattering of the gravel was Chen Yin's heart. The stone tablet was the carrier of the lightning origin array diagram. It was something passed down from their ancestors. Now that it had shattered, Chen Yin's heart was really broken. At the same time that the lightning pool changed, in the mysterious space of the lightning origin array diagram, the wide-robed old man's right finger was pointing at Zhuowen's forehead. Waves of mysterious and obscure runes, knowledge and experience flowed along the old and withered finger into the depths of Zhuowen's forehead. They were deeply imprinted in the depths of his mind. Zhuowen's eyes revealed an intoxicated look. He accepted all the Array Dao experience of the ancestors of the Lightning Array clan, and he suddenly had an epiphany. The Array Dao problems that used to be obscure and difficult to understand became so simple in his eyes at this moment. But the experience and knowledge of the ancestors of the Lightning Array clan were too vast. Although Zhuowen was also trying to digest it, he could only comprehend a small part. What was left was for Zhuowen to slowly comprehend and digest it. This required sufficient time, and Zhuowen finally knew that the name of the ancestor of the Lightning Array clan was Huan. Because he created the Lightning Array clan, he was given the surname Lei. Therefore, all the clansmen of the Lightning Array clan were surnamed Lei. For example, Jiyuan and Chen-Yin, these two were their names. Their surnames were Lei, and their full names were Lei Jiyuan and Lei Chen-Yin. After accepting all the experience and knowledge of Lei Huan, he finally knew that Lei Huan was a powerful Array Dao master at the peak of the fourth heavenly layer. Lei Huan, for a very long time, was known as the invincible Array master under the fifth heavenly layer of the Eternal Realm. The reason why he had such a reputation was mainly because he was extremely fast at setting up arrays, especially when he was setting up thunder attribute arrays, which could be completed in almost half a breath. Of course, this was on the premise that there were enough materials. With the heaven-defying ability to set up thunder attribute arrays in an instant, although Lei Huan's cultivation wasn't high, his fighting strength made many experts tremble in fear. As long as Lei Huan had enough materials, he could set up one array after another in an instant. Even if he couldn't beat his opponent, he could exhaust them to death. However, this ability to set up arrays in an instant was only mastered by Lei Huan. Later, the Lightning Array clan lost this ability, making this ability to set up arrays in an instant a legend of the Lightning Array clan. Junior, who has comprehended the truth, now you are qualified to get the real Thunder Origin Array diagram. With the help of the Thunder Origin Array diagram, you can get the heaven-defying ability to set up arrays in half a breath. Of course, this is limited to Thunder Attribute arrays. If it were other types of arrays, the Thunder Origin Array diagram wouldn't have such an auxiliary effect. I hope you can make good use of this ability. Also, the secret of the Thunder Origin Array diagram must not be leaked. Only the owner of the Thunder Origin Array diagram can know about it. Remember, if the secret of the Thunder Origin Array diagram is revealed, it will trigger the curse that I set up on it. At that time, you will watch as you turn into lightning liquid and be swallowed by the Thunder Origin Array diagram. Lei Huan's figure looked deeply at Zhuowen. After reminding him of some things to take note of, his figure gradually turned illusory and finally dissipated into countless light spots. After Lei Huan's illusory figure disappeared, the mysterious lightning rings that surrounded Zhuowen also collapsed one after another. When all the lightning rings dissipated, the mysterious space started to violently collapse. The surrounding space was even more distorted and shattered. In the depths of the endless darkness, a white lightning suddenly descended. This bolt of lightning was gentle and warm, completely enveloping Zhuowen. When Zhuowen opened his eyes again, he realized that he had already left the mysterious space and landed in the thunder pool. However, the thunder pool in front of him no longer had any lightning energy. Instead, it had become an ordinary basin. As for the stone tablet that contained the Thunder Origin Array diagram, it started to crumble inch by inch and shattered into countless pieces. The surroundings were a mess. At the same time, Zhuowen realized that not far from where the stone tablet had shattered, there were two figures standing. Their gazes were confused and their expressions were strange. Chapter 43-54. Hey, is this the Thunder Pool? Shouldn't I still be in the Thunder Source Array? One of them was a doddering old man with a hunched back. His turbid eyes were wide open as he looked around and shrieked in a shrill voice. The other was an old woman with the same white hair. She was also full of doubts, but she was much calmer than the old man. She first looked at Zhuowen doubtfully, and then her eyes fell on the old man not far away. "Father!" The old woman's eyes recovered, and she excitedly ran to the old man and hugged the old man's shoulders with both hands. "Hey! Who are you, old woman? I am not your father. I have a daughter. Her name is Lei Jia. She is a young, beautiful and graceful girl. How can she be as old as you?" The old man quickly retreated a few steps, pointed at the old woman, and said angrily. However, he looked at the old woman carefully and whispered, "The outline of this old woman's face is a bit like Jiajia, but Jiajia can't be so old. When I first entered the Thunder Origin Array diagram, she was still a lively, cute, and beautiful young lady." "Father, I am Lei Jia. You have been in the Thunder Source Array for almost 9,000 years. The old woman sighed. "What? 9,000 years, impossible. Why do I feel like only a few years have passed? Why is it so fast?" The old man was shocked, and soon he realized something. He looked at the old woman and asked, Are you really Jiajia?" The old woman's face was red with excitement. She quickly walked up and hugged the old man tightly. Zhuowen looked at this scene, and the corner of his eyes twitched. The picture was so beautiful that he didn't dare to look. At the same time, Jiu Yuan and Chen Yin also rushed down from above. They quickly came to Zhuowen and asked about the situation. The two of them were full of doubts. They didn't understand what had happened to the Thunder Pool and the Thunder Source Array, and it had become like this. Maybe it has something to do with me understanding the true meaning of the Thunder Source Array. Zhuowen scratched his head and said embarrassedly. After all, the Thunder Pool is the forbidden land of the Thunder Array clan. He still felt a little sorry for making it like this. So that's the case. Chen Yin and the Jiu Yuan breathed a sigh of relief, but soon realized that something was wrong. Their eyes widened and they stared at Zhuowen. "What did you just say? Did you really comprehend the true essence of the Thunder Origin diagram?" "That should be the case. I even saw the projection of a person who claimed to be Lei Huan inside. He imparted all of his life's experience and knowledge to me. After he disappeared, I was sent out," Zhuowen honestly replied. However, he did not mention the part about the Thunder Array diagram. It wasn't that he didn't want to say it, but that old man Lei Huan had put a curse on it. If he said it to another person, he would be cursed immediately. The drying up of the Thunder Pool and the mutation of the Thunder Origin Array diagram is indeed recorded in the ancestral teachings. This is a phenomenon that will only appear after the true essence of the Thunder Origin Array diagram is deciphered. Our Lightning Array clan has really produced a true dragon. "Jiajia, introduce to me, which of my great-grandchildren is this little guy?" Zhuowen's voice was not soft, so the old woman and old man who were still reminiscing about their family not far away also heard it clearly. The old man laughed loudly, and very proudly pulled the old woman in front of Zhuowen, wanting to introduce them to each other. In his view, only the people of the Thunder Array clan can enter the Thunder Origin diagram to comprehend. XDW8, he was the person with the highest seniority in the Thunder Origin Array diagram who had yet to reach the end of his lifespan. Naturally, he believed that Zhuowen was one of his great-great-great-grandchildren. Lei Jia's eyes were strange. She looked at Zhuowen, and then looked at the Jiu Yuan and Chen Yin. The return of the Jiu Yuan made her happy and excited, but she really had no impression of who Zhuowen was. "This father, actually, I don't know who he is." Lei Jia was embarrassed. "Then who is he?" the old man asked with his eyes wide open. Next to him, the Jiu Yuan and Chen Yin, who were still in a sluggish state because of Zhuowen's words, were brought back to their senses by the old man's rough voice. "Grandmother, great-grandfather. His name is Mowen. He is one of my best friends. The Thunder Origin diagram should be cracked by him." the Jiu Yuan quickly said. What? Not the younger generation of our lightning array clan? Lei Jia and the old man both exclaimed in unison. The thunder origin diagram is the treasure of their lightning array clan. How can they casually let an outsider touch it? Chen Yin quickly stepped forward and explained the cause and effect of the matter. Lei Jia and the old man, who were originally excited, gradually calmed down after hearing the explanation. What Chen Yin said is right. The thunder origin diagram has now become the burden of their lightning array clan. If someone can help them unravel the truth, it is actually helping their lightning array clan. Furthermore, Zhuowen had promised that he would share all the experience and knowledge he gained from the thunder origin array diagram with the lightning array clan. Thus, the two of them quickly accepted this fact. Little friend, it's really a young hero. You can actually crack the truth of the thunder origin diagram. It really makes the old man ashamed. I just don't know how many years it took you to realize the truth. The old man said gently. He has realized Zhuowen's powerful formation talent, so he also has the intention of making friends. He should have realized it within half a year, because I entered the thunder origin diagram half a year ago, and at that time, he and the Jiu Yuan had not yet returned to the lightning array clan. Lei Jia interjected. Within half a year. The old man sucked in a breath of cold air. He looked at Zhuowen as if he was looking at a monster. He didn't know what to say at all. He, an old man, has studied for more than 9,000 years, and he is not as good as a young man for half a year. He felt very ashamed. Grandmother, great-grandfather. In fact, Brother Mo1 only took 3 days. The Jiu Yuan smiled bitterly. 3 days. The old man and Lei Jia breathed a sigh of relief, but soon their faces changed drastically, and they shouted in unison, What did you say? 3 days. 3 days? Seeing his grandmother and great-grandfather so excited, the Jiu Yuan could only smile bitterly in his heart. Even he felt that it was incredible, but in fact it was true. Zhuowen did take only 3 days. It was simply terrifying. Senior Lei Jia, the reason why I took the liberty to come and try the thunder origin diagram is to let you come out. I have something to ask. Zhuowen suddenly cupped his fist and said solemnly. Lei Jia came back to her senses. She looked at Zhuowen strangely and muttered to herself absent-mindedly, It's really infuriating. He just cracked the thunder origin diagram in order to let me out. Then I and the generations of patriarchs have never successfully cracked it. We are all living on dogs, damn it. The old man fiercely added a sentence for Lei Jia. Chapter 43-55. In the Leijin clan, in the patriarch's mansion, the previous patriarch Lei Jia and the previous patriarch Lei Yu were sitting in the first place. Below them sat Zhuowen, Chen Yin, and Jiu Yuan. Dang after Lei Jia and Lei Yu read the contents of the jade slip handed over by Zhuowen, they were all enlightened and their eyes showed excitement. It turns out that this is the law of the thunder in the thunder source diagram. In the world of the thunder source diagram, there are only 100 zeros? Huh? What do you mean? Lei Jia asked in surprise. In the beginning, I went to the Saint Pavilion to look for the third holy maiden, Zilong, and told her about this. But I didn't expect her to not believe me, and she even wanted to take me back to search my soul to prove the truth of my words. Zhuowen mentioned lightly and did not say much. Lei Jia frowned slightly, she thought of something, sighed softly, and said, Zilong, holy maiden, Zilong's character is more willful and self-righteous. You have been wronged. As for your arrest, I will also report to the great holy maiden. I think the great holy maiden will clear your name. One waved his hand and said in a deep voice, Senior Lei Jia, you only need to convey what I said. As for the third holy maiden and me, please don't say much. One didn't have a good impression of the Zixien clan, and he didn't care about the arrest of the Zixien clan. If Lei Jia said anything, it would expose his whereabouts. The so-called close and distant, even if Zilong was wrong, but as a holy maiden, Would the great holy maiden punish Zilong because of him, an outsider? This was obviously impossible. Lei Jia also thought of this. She hesitated for a moment and nodded. She didn't intend to say anything about Zhuowen. Nephew, you've helped our Lightning Array clan a great deal today. There are 7 days before the attack, you said. I will report to the great holy maiden tomorrow. Today you will stay with us and let us entertain you well to express our gratitude. Lei Jia laughed. Lei Yu and Chen Yin also nodded and looked at Zhuowen expectantly. Looking at the expectant gazes in front of him, Zhuowen hesitated for a moment before agreeing. Subsequently, the Thunder Array clan held a grand banquet. In name, it was to celebrate the success of the 2 clan leaders. However, in reality, it was to celebrate Zhuowen. The next day, Zhuowen and Jie Yuan stayed in the luxurious wing arranged by Lei Jia in the Thunder Array clan, while Lei Jia hurriedly left the Thunder Array clan and headed for the Purple Yuan Palace in the core of the Holy City. At the core of the sacred city, there were 7 magnificent buildings. 2 of the most magnificent buildings were the Female Supreme Palace, which was where the 2 female supremes of the Zixien clan lived, while the other 5 palaces were less important. They were the personal palaces of the 5 holy maidens. These 5 palaces were named after the holy maidens. For example, the first holy maiden was called Ziyuan, so her palace was called Ziyuan Palace. The third holy maiden Zilong's palace was called Zilong Palace. Chapter 43-56. On the way to the Ziyuan Palace, Lei Jia was unimpeded. She did not encounter many obstacles or inquiries at all. In the Zixien clan, it was no secret that the previous patriarch of the Lei clan, Lei Jia, had a good relationship with the great saintess Ziyuan. Back then, the great saintess had even said that Lei Jia could enter the Ziyuan Palace without notifying her. Lei Jia came to the door of the Ziyuan Palace and whispered to Ziyuan's personal maid who had been waiting outside, "Is the great saintess in the Ziyuan Palace now?" "Patriarch Lei, the great saintess is in a meeting with the other saintesses. It may take some time. Please come to the inner hall and wait for a moment," the maid said respectfully. Lei Jia nodded. Under the maid's lead, she entered the resting hall of the inner hall and waited. About 2 hours later, a beautiful woman with a graceful figure and snow-white skin walked into the resting hall with charming steps. The beautiful woman was wearing a light gauze. Through the hazy gauze, one could vaguely see the delicate and beautiful curves under the gauze. The beautiful woman slowly walked into the resting hall. Her long and narrow phoenix eyes fell on Lei Jia, who was sitting in the resting hall, and the corners of her mouth lifted into an imperceptible arc. "Lei Jia, didn't you enter the Thunder Origin Array half a year ago? It's only been half a year and you've come out of seclusion. Could it be that you've cracked the Thunder Origin Array?" The beautiful woman was the great saintess, Ziyuan. She stretched her waist, revealing the perfect curves on her body that could make many men's blood boil. Her long and narrow beautiful eyes looked at the old woman in front of her in confusion. When it came to the Thunder Origin Array, Lei Jia couldn't help but smile. "Great Holy Maiden, I was fortunate to have accomplished my mission. I have deciphered the Thunder Origin Array diagram and obtained the enlightenment of my ancestor. I have obtained a lot of valuable knowledge and information." Lei Jia smiled. She had a very good relationship with Ziyuan, so she didn't intend to hide the Thunder Origin Array. However, because Zhuowen had agreed in advance, she didn't tell anyone about Zhuowen. She only said that she had cracked the Thunder Origin Array. Ziyuan was moved. She took a deep look at Lei Jia and said with a smile, "Lei Jia, congratulations. The important task of reviving the Thunder Array clan is indeed on you. You have solved the problem that none of the previous patriarchs were able to solve. You will become an important figure in the history of the Lightning Array clan." Lei Jia repeatedly said that she didn't dare. She also said that it was because the Zixien clan had taken care of the Leijian clan. That was why the Leijian clan was able to achieve its current glory. In Lei Jia's words, most of the credit for cracking the Thunder Origin formation was given to the Zixuan clan. This made the great Saintess Zi Yuan extremely happy. Lei Jia, you specially came to the Purple Yuan Palace today. It shouldn't be just to report to me about the Thunder Origin diagram, right? Zi Yuan looked at Lei Jia with a smile and asked without hesitation. Lei Jia nodded. Her expression became extremely serious as she said in a deep voice, Great Saintess, I do have an important matter to report to you. This matter involves the stability and turmoil of the Zixuan clan. Ziyuan, who had a smile in her eyes, became serious after hearing Lei Jia's words. Tell me about it. Ziyuan frowned. It's like this. I accidentally learned that someone is preparing to launch a surprise attack on the divine warship of the Zixuan sacred city in 7 days. Before Lei Jia finished speaking, the great Saintess Zi Yuan completely lost her calm. She sat up abruptly, frowned tightly, and asked seriously, Lei Jia, there are some things that can't be said carelessly. The divine warship is something given to us by the lords of the supreme realms. No one dares to attack the divine warship. This is against the will of those lords. Lei Jia nodded heavily and said, Great Saintess, what I said is absolutely true. There are indeed people who want to attack the divine warship, but their goal is not the divine warship. They want to lure the tiger away from the mountain and lure out most of the higher-ups of the Zixuan clan. Their real goal is the sacred fire source. Ziyuan's pupils narrowed. The sacred fire source was the most important thing to the Zixuan clan. It was even more precious than the divine warship. By the divine warship could be repaired if it was damaged, but there was only one sacred fire source. If it was taken away, there really wouldn't be a second one. Are you sure this news is true? Ziyuan asked again solemnly. Lei Jia thought for a moment and nodded. She believed that Zhuowen would not speak carelessly. Ziyuan, after a long silence, Ziyuan finally sighed softly and said to Lei Jia, You can go back first. I know about this matter. I need to gather the other 4 saintesses to discuss countermeasures. Lei Jia nodded. She was only responsible for delivering the news. As for how the Zixuan clan would deal with the enemy next, it was not something she could participate in. After Lei Jia bid farewell to Ziyuan, Ziyuan ordered people to gather the other 4 saintesses to the Ziyuan palace. Soon, in the large reception hall of the Ziyuan palace, the 5 saintesses gathered together. They were the great Saintess Ziyuan, the second Saintess Zixian, the third Saintess Zilong, the fourth Saintess Ziyong, and the 5th Saintess Zilian. 4 the saintesses all looked at the great Saintess Ziyuan, who was sitting at the head of the table with a gloomy face. Not long after they finished the meeting, the great Saintess summoned them again, which made them very surprised. They wondered what the great Saintess wanted. The 4 of you, I have very unfortunate news to tell you. Ziyuan finally opened her mouth and immediately attracted the attention of the other 4 saintesses. I received news that someone will attack the divine warship in 7 days. Their purpose of attacking the divine warship is not to destroy the divine warship, but to lure the tiger away from the mountain. Their real purpose is the divine fire source. Ziyuan slowly narrated, but the other 4 saintesses were all shocked. Tezi Long, the 3rd saintess, narrowed her beautiful eyes and immediately thought of the young demonic cultivator she met in the sage pavilion that day. At that time, the news that the young demonic cultivator told her was what Ziyuan was saying now. Difficult could it be that the demonic cultivator was unable to persuade her and had approached the great saintess at some point and told her this news that she did not know whether it was true or false. This man is really hateful. As expected, he has ulterior motives. He is so persistent in deceiving the Zixuan clan. What is his purpose? Except for Zilong, the other 3 saintesses were surprised, but they did not doubt it. Ziyuan was the great saintess. Among them, she was the most respected, so they subconsciously believed the news she said. Therefore, we must take precautions. I plan to send 70% of the core of the inner city to the vicinity of the divine warship and take protective measures. If necessary, the divine warship will leave Zixian's sacred city in advance on that day so that the attackers will not be able to succeed. And we will still be in the core of the inner city. We can't let this group of people have any opportunity to take advantage of. Ziyuan's analysis was well organized, and she spoke of the plan that she had already arranged in her heart. Great Saintess, don't you suspect that this news is false? Suddenly, the third Saintess Zilong spoke out. Ziyuan raised her eyebrows and looked at Zilong. False? I don't think this news is false because the person who gave me the news is someone I trust. Ziyuan looked at Ziyuan. Ziyuan shook her head and said, Great Saintess, in fact, I received this news a few days ago, and the person who passed me the news was an extremely suspicious young demonic cultivator. The news he told me was almost the same as yours. As soon as these words came out, the saintesses were all moved, including the great Saintess Ziyuan. Chapter 43:57. A young demon cultivator? Is he your friend? Saintess Ziyuan's beautiful brows furrowed slightly as she looked at third Saintess Zilong in confusion. She, unexpectedly, third Saintess Zilong had already heard of this news before her. Sister Zilong, is the young demon cultivator you're talking about the person you're looking for? I remember that he's also a demon cultivator, Fifth Saintess Zilian suddenly said. Fifth Saintess Zilian was the youngest. Her long eyelashes, coupled with her big watery eyes, gave off a pure feeling that made people want to cherish her. Zilong nodded and said, That's him. When I heard the news, I was also shocked, but I didn't believe it so easily. Therefore, I wanted to invite this person to our core inner city as a guest and explain the source and details of the news in detail. However, this person ignored my invitation and even left in a hurry. I wanted to ask him to stop, but he suddenly felt guilty and ran away in a hurry. He was so fast that even I couldn't catch up with him. After that, the more I thought about it, the more I felt that something was wrong. I kept feeling that there was something wrong with this person. The news he gave me was obviously misleading. Maybe he wanted us to deploy most of our forces to the divine ship, so wouldn't the core inner city be empty? Zilong asked. Dragon did not directly state his conclusion. Instead, he laid out his analysis in detail. However, the 5 saintesses present were all intelligent people, so they naturally understood the meaning behind Zilong's words. However, what they did not expect was that Zilong's words had actually been modified by her with some embellishment. At that time, she did not politely invite Zhuowen to the core inner city. Instead, she planned to detain him back to the inner city and then forcibly search his soul. If Zilong's attitude was not tough and unreasonable, Zhuowen would not have been forced to leave by her. It was completely different from what Zilong said about Zhuowen running away because of a guilty conscience. There's definitely a lot of animosity between us. Maybe he's one of the masterminds behind all this. His purpose is to make us transfer our troops away from the core of the inner city so that they can take advantage of the situation. The second Saintess, Zixin, agreed. After Zilong's misdirection, other than the great Saintess Ziyuan, the other 3 saintesses all agreed with Zilong's point of view and began to have great doubts about the demonic cultivator. Purple she felt that Zilong's words were suspicious, but she could not find a reason to refute it. She didn't think that Lei Jia would lie to her about this matter. Lei Jia had a very good relationship with her, and both of them could contribute to each other's solid relationship. If Lei Jia did not lie to her, then Zilong's words had a huge problem. I believe in the information provided by my informant. The divine warship is also extremely important. We also need to be prepared. At least, we need to send a portion of our forces to prevent accidents from happening, Ziyuan said in a deep voice. Great Saintess, you've obviously fallen into his trap. Believe me, the divine warship will never be attacked. This is a psychological attack. They're waiting for us to leave the core of the inner city so that they can launch a fierce attack on the inner city in one fell swoop. Now, what we need to do is to not do anything and just do our jobs. As long as we don't move, the mastermind behind the scenes will not be able to do anything to us, Zilong said confidently. What if your guess is wrong? You know the importance of the divine worship to our Zishuan clan better than I do. If something happens to the divine worship, we won't be able to escape severe punishment, Ziyuan said coldly. The smile on Zilong's face deepened. She said, Great Saintess, since we don't agree, why don't we follow the usual practice and decide by voting? The minority obeys the majority. Ziyuan frowned slightly. She looked at the other 3 saintesses and found that they were deliberately not looking at her. She knew that the other 3 saintesses might be more convinced by Zilong's words. Although, among the 5 saintesses of the Zishuan clan, Ziyuan, as the great saintess, had the highest prestige, but after all, the clan was now jointly managed by the 5 of them. If they wanted to mobilize the cultivator army in the clan or other major matters, they needed to vote. Everyone, I can be sure that the news I received is not likely to be false. We must arrange for people to guard the divine worship. Ziyuan, the great saintess, said in a deep voice. Great saintess, your news may have been deliberately released to you by the mastermind behind the scenes. In order to prevent you from being deceived, you'd better think it over carefully, Zilong, the 3rd saintess, said, not backing down. Great saintess, what the 3rd saintess said is right. The divine worship is made of special materials. Even a starlight-level cultivator may not be able to destroy it. Our core inner city is an important place for our clan. I agree with what the 3rd saintess said. We should put the main forces in the core inner city. We don't need to pay attention to the divine worship at all. The other 3 saintesses hesitated for a moment, but they all chose to support the 3rd saintess. Ziyuan frowned slightly. She didn't say a word, and her face was as calm as water. Zilong, the 3rd saintess, was proud. She glanced at the great saintess, and her heart was full of joy. Although she was only the 3rd saintess, she had been very popular recently. Because of Fei Peng's matter, the reputation and status of the 2nd saintess had plummeted, and she was no longer a threat to Zilong. The only person standing in front of Zilong was the most respected great saintess. Zilong knew that after this time, she would take the initiative. When her reputation completely overshadowed that of the great saintess, she believed that the saintess would pay attention to her again and promote her to become the great saintess, because she was the most capable of the 5 saintesses. Just in case, it's best to mobilize 20% of the troops to guard the divine worship. This way, the core inner city will not be empty, and there will be a buffer if an accident happens to the divine worship, the great saintess, Ziyuan, suggested after a moment of silence. Now, the other saintesses had all sided with the 3rd saintess. Even if Ziyuan was the great saintess, she was not qualified to mobilize the cultivator army of the Zishuan clan. This must be done by 3 or more saintesses. This was a rule set by the 2 saintesses, and Ziyuan could not violate it. Zilong's heart was already filled with pride, and she was a little carried away. She flatly refused and said, Great saintess, your vision is no longer sharp. This time, let me be in charge. You just need to watch. Ziyuan was angry. Mobilizing 20% of the troops was not difficult for Zilong, but she refused. This was too childish. I think the great saintess's suggestion is reasonable. It's only 20% of the troops, so it shouldn't be a problem. The 2nd saintess, Zxian, felt that Zilong was a little carried away and could not help but remind her. Ziyuan was not afraid. She said, 2nd saintess, I know this better than all of you. Instead of mobilizing 20% of the troops to guard the divine worship, I think it's better to let these troops search for the young demonic cultivator. As long as we catch the demonic cultivator, we can quickly find the mastermind behind the scenes. Then, won't this crisis be resolved? The fourth Saintess, Ziyong, and the fifth Saintess, Zilian, nodded repeatedly. They completely agreed with Zilong's suggestion. They were completely convinced by her. Chapter 43-58. Let's go. The top priority is to catch the young demon cultivator. We will mobilize the troops first. Does the great holy maiden want to come with us? Zilong looked at the silent Ziyuan, and there was some provocation in her eyes. Ziyuan frowned, shook her head and sighed. I'm not feeling well, so I won't go. You go ahead. The great holy maiden must take care of her health. We will go first. Zilong left the Ziyuan palace triumphantly. Soon, Ziyuan was the only one left in the huge palace. Time gradually passed, and in the sacred city of Zixien, in recent days, many cultivators were searching for the wanted demon cultivators from door to door. Even the land of the Leijin clan was no exception. The cultivators of the Zixien clan were everywhere with portraits in their hands. The entrances and exits of the sacred city were strictly controlled. The cultivators who entered and exited the sacred city needed to go through many inspections before they could pass. Deep in the Leijin clan, in a secret room, Zhuowen sat in the hall, listening to the report from the Jiuyuan, and his face was not very good. He thought that after Lei Jia went to report to the great holy maiden, the Zixien clan would take action and be on guard against the divine ship. But according to the investigation of the Jiuyuan, there were no precautions at all on the divine ship, but in the sacred city, the search for him was getting stronger and stronger. In the sacred city of Zixien, the only one who wants me is the third holy maiden Zilong. That is to say, Zilong actually has the power to mobilize the cultivator army in the city? But it shouldn't be. The great holy maiden is the most respected, and the relationship between the Lei Jia clan and her is so good, she shouldn't doubt the news of the Lei Jia clan. Zhuowen furrowed his brows and continued to mutter to himself. Even if she really suspects clan leader Lei Jia's news, she can't possibly ignore the divine worship. At the very least, she has to take precautions against possible attack. One was puzzled. He didn't know that the great holy maiden had tried her best, but unfortunately, the current Zixien sacred city was not something she could decide alone. His Saintess had sided with the third Saintess, leaving the first Saintess alone in this matter. She wanted to help, but she was powerless. What should we do now? The Jiuyuan asked with a frown. The divine ship must not be lost. Since the Zixuan clan does not care, we can only rely on the power of the Leijin clan. Zhuowen looked at the Jiuyuan. Rayan, the residence of the patriarch, Lei Jia, Lei Yu, Chen Yin and the Jiuyuan gathered together, and Zhuowen naturally sat here. Seniors, clan leader Chen Yin, it seems that the Zixien clan has not accepted the opinions and information of the Thunder Array clan. Zhuowen said in a deep voice. Lei Jia sighed and said, You can't blame the great Saintess. She has already sent me a message. Now, the third Saintess has the initiative, and the other Saintesses have also chosen the third Saintess Zilong's words, so, now, if you want to prevent the divine worship from being destroyed, you can only rely on the Thunder Array tribe, Zhuowen said helplessly. Relying on our Lightning Array clan? Little friend, although our Lightning Array clan is a highly respected Array Dao clan, we only know Array Dao. In terms of fighting, we are weak chickens. If you want us to stop a possible attack, you might as well kill me. Lei Yu immediately objected. Zhuowen looked helplessly at the rogue old man in front of him. He really didn't expect that the patriarch of the previous generation of the Thunder Array clan was an old rogue who only knew how to play trick. What if you add the peerless Thunder Array? Are you still not sure? Zhuowen sighed softly. Of course not. Peerless Thunder Array? Just as Lei Yu was about to deny it, her eyes suddenly widened. No, of course, he knows about the double Thunder Array. This is one of the most powerful arrays of their ancestors. The jade slip that Zhuowen passed to them has the corresponding arrangement method. However, the Peerless Thunder Array is a terrifying attack array of the eternal third heavenly layer. Because of its terrifying power, it is said that it is close to the eternal fourth heavenly layer. Dang years ago, their ancestors relied on this array to almost walk sideways in the eternal third heavenly layer. In their ancestral teachings, their ancestors arranged the Peerless Thunder Array in half a breath, which simply shocked all the clansmen of the past generations. No matter how talented the array master is, it is impossible to arrange such a complex and powerful array in half a breath, but their ancestors did it. Later, many of their ancestors' powerful arrays were lost, and this Peerless Thunder Array was one of them. Impossible, the Peerless Thunder Array is extremely complex, and it is a great array of the eternal third heavenly layer. Even if this old man is already a divine array master of the eternal third heavenly layer, he can't arrange it smoothly in a short time. Lei Yu shook his head. I have successfully advanced to the eternal third heavenly layer. Plus me, Senior Lei Jia and you, there are a total of 3 eternal third heavenly layer array masters. Do you think you can't arrange it in a short time? Zhuowen said lightly. What? You have advanced? When did it happen? Lei Yu's eyes widened and he exclaimed. Zhuo, how old is one? He is so young, but he is already a divine array master of the same level as him, an old man who has lived for so long. Lei Yu had a feeling of being fucked by a dog. Noonly Lei Yu, Lei Jia, Zhu Yuan, Chen Yin and others were shocked by Zhuowen's words. Zhuowen's right hand opened, and a series of complex array patterns surged out of his palm, and then instantly turned into various types of small arrays in front of him. The symbol of the eternal third heavenly layer is to know all kinds of array patterns like the back of one's hand, and can combine the array patterns into a variety of restrictions and great arrays at any time and place. It's really a divine array master of the eternal third heavenly layer. Lei Yu coughed a few times, and his eyes were quite complicated. There are still 5 days. As long as you can collect enough materials for the Peerless Thunder Array, I can guarantee that I can arrange the Peerless Thunder Array in these 5 days. If you can protect the divine ship this time, it will be a good thing for your Thunder Array clan. The Zishuan clan will reward you. Zhuowen said lightly. Zhuowen smoothly advanced to the eternal third heavenly layer on the 2nd day after he got all of Lei Huan's array experience. And with the Thunder Source array diagram in his body, it was not difficult for him to arrange the Peerless Thunder Array now. Dang, however, because the level of the Peerless Thunder Array is relatively high, he can't use the Thunder Source array diagram to form the array in an instant, but it can also greatly shorten the time to set up the array, as long as the materials are enough. Lei Jia said with a complicated look in her eyes, Nephew Imowen, can I ask why you are so obsessed with protecting the divine ship? You are not a member of the Zishuan clan, nor are you related to them. You have no obligation to protect the divine ship. Zhuowen spread out his hands and said, I don't like to meddle in other people's business, but I want to go to the super world. I've already bought the ticket before the attack. If the divine warship is damaged, my journey will be delayed indefinitely. That's not what I want. Hearing Zhuowen's words, Lei Jia, Lei Yu and others looked strange. They didn't expect that Zhuowen would take so much trouble just because the ticket in his hand would not be delayed. There was nothing wrong with this reason. Chapter 43-59. In Zixian Sacred City, in an inconspicuous room of an inn, Fei Pengze looked through the window at the cultivator army that was searching from house to house. The cultivator army of the Zixian clan has been so active recently. Could it be that they have noticed something? In the room, other than Fei Pengze, there were 2 other people. The one who spoke was the pale skinny man. His voice was very sharp, like a ghost that crawled out from the depths of hell. It was very scary. Fei Pengze shook his head and said, It shouldn't be. The cultivator army of the Zixian clan has been so active recently. It seems that they are looking for a demon cultivator. And I have also observed that the guards around the divine ship have not increased because of this. This means that these cultivator army are not targeting us. A demon cultivator? Do you know the origin of that demon cultivator? To be able to cause such a large-scale search by the Zixien clan and still not be able to find him, this demon cultivator must be extraordinary. The pale skinny man said in surprise. The origin of that demon cultivator is very mysterious. I have also tried to investigate, but there are no clues. However, this person is not important to us. Our main task now is to attack the divine ship and create chaos for the Zixien clan. Fei Pengze said lightly. Leave the matter of the divine warship to us. Fei Pengze, you have a long way to go. You can't disappoint that lord again. The skinny man said meaningfully. I won't make the same mistake twice. Don't worry. Fei Pengze said lightly. In the land of the Thunder Array clan, Zhuowen looked at the many materials in front of him and nodded with satisfaction. In 2 days, you were able to gather all the materials for the Peerless Divine Lightning Array. You are indeed the #1 array clan in the Zixien realm. The materials for the Peerless Divine Lightning Array were extremely expensive and rare, especially the main material, the Infinite Thunderstone. It was simply a treasure that could only be found by chance. But the Thunder Array clan was able to gather all the materials in 2 days, which made Zhuowen feel a little surprised. If it was him who collected the materials, it would definitely take a lot more time and effort. That's true. After all, our Lightning Array clan specializes in Array Dao. We have many channels to obtain Array Dao materials. The materials for this Peerless Lightning God Array are too precious and rare. We had to pay a high price to obtain them, Lightning said. Worry grinned, feeling rather proud. But when he thought of how expensive these materials were, he could not help but feel some heartache. The Peerless Divine Lightning Array is a peak third heavens of the Eternal Realm. The difficulty of setting it up is not something an ordinary third heavens of the Eternal Realm can compare with. The failure rate is extremely high. We have only prepared 3 sets of materials. I don't know if that's enough. Lei Jia's brows knitted tightly, looking worried. She and Lei Yu were both god masters of Array Dao at the third sky of Eternal Realm, but even they had a certain chance of failure when setting up an ordinary third sky of Eternal Realm Grand Array. The failure rate of an array at the peak of the third sky of Eternal Realm was even higher. She wasn't sure if she could successfully arrange the Peerless Thunder Deity array before the 3 sets of materials were used up. Let me set it up. I can guarantee that I can successfully arrange the Peerless Divine Lightning Array within these 3 sets of materials. Zhuowen suddenly spoke. With the help of the Thunder Source Array Diagram and the immemorial primordial chant, he was confident that he could arrange the Peerless Divine Lightning Array quickly and with a high success rate. Lei Jia and Lei Yu frowned. Zhuowen had just advanced to the third sky of Eternal Realm. They didn't think that Zhuowen could complete this difficult task alone. Let's do it together. This can also improve the success rate, Lei Yu said. I have inherited the knowledge of your ancestor Lei Huan. I know more about the Peerless Divine Lightning Array than you do, but you don't know much about it. If you go with me, it will make my hands and feet tied, Zhuowen said in a low voice. Lei Yu and Lei Jia looked at each other and hesitated for a moment. When they remembered that Zhuowen could even crack the Thunder Source Array Diagram in 3 days, they chose to believe in Zhuowen. In order not to disturb Zhuowen from setting up the array, they gave Zhuowen the best secret room in the Thunder Array clan's territory. After entering the spacious secret room, Zhuowen didn't hurry to set up the array. Instead, he went through the information about the Peerless Divine Lightning Array that Lei Huan had passed on to him. And after revising it several times, Zhuowen felt that he was very confident. He took out the primordial stone and let it float around him, causing his perception and thinking to become more agile and powerful. At the same time, he silently mobilized the thunder source array diagram hidden in his body. At the same time, Zhuowen's body was surrounded by dense threads of lightning. The dense lightning threads wrapped around Zhuowen's body and interwove into a uniform layer of lightning thread. Zhuowen slowly extended his right hand, and a fine rumbling sound could be heard. Countless lightning threads were like iron wires attracted by a magnet, and they all wrapped around his right hand. At this moment, Zhuowen was imagining the arrangement and outline of the peerless divine lightning array in his mind. And his right hand, which was wrapped in fine lightning threads, actually moved on its own as if it was assisted by the gods. It skillfully and quickly took out materials, wrapped them with the array patterns, digested them, and turned them into the purest energy. In front of Zhuowen, complicated array patterns were arranged in various ways, forming strange trajectories and patterns. 2 hours later, the endless lightning threads on Zhuowen's right hand gradually dissipated, revealing a slender and fair palm. Zhuowen looked calmly at the peerless divine lightning array that had already taken shape in front of him. The peerless divine lightning array was deliberately compressed by Zhuowen to only about 3 meters in size. There were dense and complicated array patterns and special symbols inside the array. Array inside, purple lightning flashed faintly, showing the extraordinariness and uniqueness of this array. Array rise. Zhuowen suddenly spoke. Inside the originally calm array, an extremely terrifying crackling sound suddenly resounded. Only violent purple lightning overflowed inside the array. These purple lightning twisted, expanded and contracted, and finally condensed into a mighty and powerful lightning figure, like an invincible thunder god. Is this the power of the peerless divine lightning array? It's really terrifying. When silently looked at the thunder god's shadow in front of him, his eyes full of fear. He could feel the extremely terrifying destructive power contained in this thunder god's shadow. Even if Zhuowen tried to resist this power, he would be annihilated. Even an ancient starlight expert would be seriously injured or even killed in the face of this terrible thunder god's shadow. Zhuowen muttered to himself, feeling extremely surprised. He had a powerful treasure like the thunder god's array pattern. As long as his array Dao level improved again, he could rely on the thunder god's array pattern to arrange such a powerful and terrifying array in an instant. By unexpectedly, now that he has just entered the eternal third heaven, he can smoothly arrange the peerless divine lightning array in an hour. The time to arrange the array will only get shorter and shorter in the future. After Zhuowen put the complete version of the peerless divine lightning array into the array plate, he was not in a hurry to leave the secret room. The peerless divine lightning array was extremely difficult to set up. If he went out now and announced the success of the array, Lei Yu, Lei Jia, Ji Yuan and others would probably doubt their lives. Chapter 4360. After 2 days of quiet cultivation in the secret room, Zhuowen pushed the door out. Outside the door, Lei Yu, Lei Jia, and others have not left, they are waiting anxiously. When they saw Zhuowen push the door out, they quickly greeted him and asked about the result. The peerless thunder god array was successfully arranged, it is all in this disc. Zhuowen said indifferently as he threw a pitch-black disc array to Lei Yu. Lei Yu caught the disc in a hurry, and after checking it repeatedly and confirming that the disc was indeed the pattern of the peerless thunder god array, he was pleasantly surprised. Little friend Mo1, you are really awesome. It was successfully arranged in 2 days. Your success rate has reached 1/3, which is extremely amazing. Lei Yu gave Zhuowen a thumbs up and praised him. Zhuowen thought about it, waved his sleeve, and took out the remaining 2 materials. In fact, I only used 1 material, and the remaining 2 materials will be returned to you. Of course, if you can, I also need these materials. You can sell them to me. Zhuowen said lightly. Lei Yu, who was still giving Zhuowen a thumbs up, his smile was completely stiff. He looked straight at the 2 materials that Zhuowen had casually piled on the ground. After a moment of silence, he took a breath. Lei Jia, Jiyuan and Chen Yin were also completely shocked. Worthy of my master, the peerless Thunder God array is such a complex and powerful array, and the success rate has reached 100%. Jiyuan thought to himself, and he admired Zhuowen even more. Several people, you can quote a price for these two materials. Zhuowen saw Lei Yu and others silent, and could not help but emphasize it again. Nephew, you are so polite. You have successfully arranged the peerless Thunder God array for us. We haven't paid you yet? How could I have the nerve to sell this to you? These two materials will be given to you as a reward, Lei Jia said in a warm tone. Zhuowen thought about it and did not refuse, so he accepted the two materials. The peerless Thunder God array is powerful and can be one of his trump cards, so these two materials are still very important to him. Zhuowen accepted the materials. Lei Yu and Lei Jia's smiles became even brighter. Now, take the array discs and find a place near the divine ship to set them up in advance. After all, the longer the array is stored in the disk array, the more serious the loss of energy will be. At that time, the power of the array will gradually weaken, Zhuowen said. Lei Yu and Lei Jia nodded. After making some preparations, they headed for the divine warship. While Zhuowen and the Jiyuan are still staying in the Thunder Array clan under the hospitality of Chen Yin. Now moreover, Zhuowen was wanted by the entire Zishuan clan. It was not a good choice for him to go out now. When Lei Yu and Lei Jia returned, it was already the second day. Their expressions were extremely grim. Their divine senses were much stronger than the average cultivators. When they entered the vicinity of the divine ship, they could clearly sense many malicious gazes. However, these malicious gazes were not directed at them, but at the divine warship. At this moment, they completely believed Zhuowen's words. Someone was indeed preparing to attack the divine warship. And the goal of these people was just as Zhuowen said, to cause chaos in Zixian sacred city. Until Zhuowen did not tell Lei Yu and Lei Jia that the real purpose of these people was to snatch the sacred fire source. Although he didn't know the sacred fire source, he also knew that this thing should be very important. If he accidentally said it, he himself might be in danger, so he wisely kept silent. Another 2 days passed. On this day, after Zhuowen disguised himself, he quietly went to the divine ship with Lei Yu, Lei Jia, the Jiyuan and Chen Yin, who were also disguised. They did not bring the rest of the Thunder Array clan. There with the peerless Thunder Array, the 5 of them were completely enough. Too many people would be easier to expose. Divine Warship. The ship is located in the west of the sacred city, where there is a huge open space. In the center of the open space there is a huge steel behemoth. It is the famous divine ship of Zixian sacred city. The divine ship is actually an enlarged version of the divine ship, but it is far larger, more magnificent and spectacular than the divine ship. The divine ship is made of some kind of solid crystal stone, and the surface is covered with barb-like spikes. It looks like a terrifying beast whose whole body is a weapon. On the surface of the divine ship, there are all kinds of brilliance flowing. Those are the different colors emitted by the various large restrictions, gorgeous and magnificent. Zhuowen looked at the divine ship silently and sighed in his heart. This divine ship is so powerful. No wonder it can become a medium for traveling between the high-level and super-level domains. The cycle of the divine ship's flight is very long, so it will take many days before the next flight. And the latest takeoff is the information recorded on Zhuowen's ticket, which is 5 days later. Zhuowen knew that the attack would begin in the next 2 days. Once the attack appeared, they would have to find a way to stop it. Zhuowen and his party of 5 wandered aimlessly around the divine ship, occasionally buying things in the nearby buildings, shops and other places, as if the 5 of them really came to wait for the passengers of the divine ship. The sky gradually darkened, and the surroundings of the divine ship became much quieter. The guards of the Zixian clan stationed here patrolled the surroundings listlessly. None in the past few years, there were almost no cases of the divine ship being attacked, so the guards stationed here basically had nothing to do. Most of them were very relaxed and did not think that anyone would dare to attack. Boom, boom, boom. In the silence, a building not far from the divine ship suddenly exploded. The deafening roar spread throughout the vicinity of the divine ship. Tight. Following that, flames soared into the sky, spreading thousands of kilometers around the divine ship as if they were burning the sky. Many of the guards who were originally listless were stunned, and many of them did not know what to do. Poof, 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 poof. Black shadows flickered, and in the blink of an eye, they appeared behind the nearby guards. With a raise of their hands, the guards were beheaded before they could react. Boom. After a long time, the guards finally reacted. They all sounded the alarm and scurried around in fear like headless flies. They only knew how to scream in fear, and did not think of reorganizing their forces to fight back. More and more shadows came from all directions, and the number of guards guarding the divine ship decreased, while the number of corpses increased. The corpses of these guards fell into the darkness, and were crazily gnawed by the evil spirits everywhere. They were truly destroyed in body and soul. At the northwest corner of the divine ship, in the shadows of an alley, Zhuowen and his party of 5 silently looked at the increasing number of shadows around the divine ship, and their expressions became extremely grave. Let's quickly activate the Peerless Lightning God formation. Lei Yu could not help but say. These are all small fries, and the real big shots have not appeared yet. Zhuowen said calmly. Chapter 4361. Lei Yu hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he chose to bide his time. Although he sympathized with the guards of the Zhixian clan who had been tragically killed, his reason told him that now was not the time to take action. Very quickly, the guards near the divine warship were either dead or had fled. The surroundings were instantly filled with densely packed shadows. This group of black shadows were all dressed in black robes with huge hoods on their heads. Their facial features were all covered by the shadows of the hoods, making it impossible to see their specific faces. This group of black-robed men was led by the pale, skinny man. He said to the people behind him in a low voice, "Try to make as much noise as possible to attract the people of the Zhixian clan and create an opportunity for Fei Pengze." Everyone nodded, and then they took out round black stones. The surface of these round stones was engraved with dense, tiny lines, which filled the entire surface of the round stones. They formed a circle, placed all the round stones in their hands around the divine ship, and then injected their divine power into the round stones. With the input of divine power, the lines on the round stones began to light up with a blazing white light, and the white light became more and more intense. Following as the white light intensified, the entire round stone began to brew an extremely powerful and terrifying destructive energy. This energy was huge and uncontrollable. It's the divine meteor stone. Heavens, they actually got so many divine meteor stones. In the dark alley, Lei Yu's pupils contracted the moment he saw the strange round stones taken out by the black-robed men. The divine meteor stone was a one-time destructive weapon made by the divine refiner. Its function was similar to the bombs on Earth. Xiu warriors channeled their divine power into the God Meteor Stone, activating the accumulated energy within the God Meteor Stone. Then, under the activation of the runes on the surface of the stone, this energy would expand countless times in a short period of time, causing a world-shaking explosion of energy. Each person in this group had a divine meteor stone, and there were dozens of them in total. If they exploded together, the energy produced would be extremely terrifying. These divine meteor stones are not enough to destroy the terrible formation on the surface of the divine ship, Zhuowen said faintly. Since Zhuowen's array Dao had advanced to the third heavenly layer of the eternal realm, his perception of grand array restrictions had become even sharper. He could see at a glance that the grand array restrictions on the surface of the divine ship were extraordinary. These divine meteorites weren't enough to destroy them. Also, Do not act rashly without my orders. I'm guessing that there's an ancient starlight expert behind these people. If that expert doesn't step into the peerless Thunder God formation, we can't expose ourselves. Do you understand? Zhuowen solemnly reminded. Ryu, Lei Jia, and the others were shocked. What Zhuowen said was right. These people had nothing to fear. They definitely had the support of an ancient starlight powerhouse behind them. They were just array masters who specialized in array Dao. Even though there were 3 array masters at the 3rd heaven of the Eternal Realm, they were no match for Ni Gu Xingguang in a real battle. Once they were exposed, they would definitely die. Zhuowen looked at Lei Yu and the others who still had a lingering fear in their hearts. In fact, there was something that he did not say out loud. Under the premise that the divine ship was not destroyed, he wanted the Zixuan clan to learn a lesson. As long as they suffered real pain, they would remember the lesson. Otherwise, the Zixuan clan and Zilong would still be arrogant and self-righteous. Dang. However, Zhuowen only told Lei Jia the real purpose of Fei Pingze and the others. When he was talking with Zilong, he didn't have a chance to say it at all. Zilong interrupted him. He thought that the Saintess would have enough power to save the situation after learning the truth. Unfortunately, she didn't have absolute control. In the end, Zilong gained the upper hand, resulting in today's situation. I hope that Zilong is not stupid enough to fall for the trick of luring the tiger away from the mountain. Otherwise, the so-called sacred fire source may not be preserved. When glanced in the direction of the inner city of Zixuan Sacred City, thinking silently in his heart, he remembered that in the conversation between Fei Pingze and the skinny man, they seemed to have the keys of the other saintesses except for Zilong. Now, the only thing missing was Zilong's key. Fei Pingze's mission was to steal Zilong's key. Zhuowen didn't hide this news and told it to Lei Jia. Lei Jia would naturally tell the saintess. Clang. However, whether they believed it or not, it was none of Zhuowen's business. Anyway, he had done his best. Boom. Boom. An earth-shattering explosion completely pulled Zhuowen's thoughts back to reality. The divine meteorite around the divine ship exploded one after another. Clusters of explosions were set off and constantly merged to form an even larger explosion. The terrifying energy flame soared into the sky like a pillar of fire that had existed since ancient times. It shone brightly in the pitch-black night, and it painted the entire Zixuan holy city as if it was daytime. Whoosh! The light and the deafening explosion completely spread throughout the entire Zixuan sacred city, awakening countless cultivators in the city. The cultivators near the divine ship fled, as if avoiding the plague, trying to stay as far away from the terrifying explosion as possible. In the core of the inner city, Ziyuan Palace. Ziyuan, who was originally restless, stood silently on the rooftop. A pair of beautiful crystal-like eyes stared closely at the direction of the divine ship. Shine her mind, the words that Lei Jia had said to her were still echoing. Let's do it tonight. If the divine ship is really attacked and Lei Jia's news is absolutely true, then we have to be more careful. Ziyuan muttered to herself. Only yes, as soon as she finished speaking, she looked in the direction of the divine ship. She saw the terrifying explosion that was expanding like a balloon. She also heard the deafening sound of the explosion. At this moment, she understood that what Lei Jia said was true. Go to Zilong and remind her that she must not leave. Ziyuan made a prompt decision and immediately went to the Zixuan Palace. Ever since the other holy maidens expressed their support for Zilong, most of the other holy maidens had gathered in the Zixuan Palace to discuss the matter of arresting the young demonic cultivator. When Ziyuan hurried to the Zixuan Palace, she found that Zilong and the other 3 holy maidens had left the Zixuan Palace and were heading towards the divine ship to support it. What? Zilong also transferred 90% of the troops in the core of the inner city. Ziyuan, after listening to the account of the servant of the Zixuan Palace, she was so angry that her whole body trembled. Although the other 3 holy maidens were on her side now, she did not inform her about the mobilization of the troops in the core of the inner city. Ziyuan was so anxious that she stomped her feet. She subconsciously wanted to chase after Zilong, but Lei Jia's words appeared in her mind again. Now, the core of the inner city had become completely empty because of Zilong's stupidity. If she also left and there were really strong people coming to invade, then it would really be dangerous. Call Zilong back first, Ziyuan said. Ziyuan took out a communication jade talisman and sent an urgent message to Zilong and the other 3 holy maidens, asking them to bring some troops back to the core of the inner city first. However, after waiting for a few minutes, Ziyuan did not receive a reply from Zilong and the others. She knew that Zilong did not intend to listen to her. Chapter 4362. Damn it! Zilong, that bastard! Ziyuan was furious. She took one last look at Zilong Palace and left in a hurry. She knew the seriousness of this matter, and had to report it to the female supreme. But before reporting to Her Majesty, she had to return to Ziyuan Palace and take out the key that belonged to her and hide it on her body. She knew very well that the goal of these people was the sacred fire source. While the 5 keys to open the sacred fire source were all in the hands of the saintesses, she felt that it was not safe to leave it in Ziyuan Palace, so she simply took it with her. Clang! Ziyuan hurried back to Ziyuan Palace and opened the secret compartment in the depths, only to find that it was empty. Originally, the key that was originally hidden in the secret compartment and belonged to her for safekeeping had actually disappeared without a trace. Oh no! Ziyuan's expression changed completely. She could no longer keep calm and immediately walked to the altar in the deepest part of the inner city. The 2 female supreme of the Zishuan clan had been missing for a long time. If the 5 saintesses wanted to contact the female supreme, they had to go through the central altar. While Ziyuan was panicking to inform the female supreme, the 4 saintesses, Zilong, Zxian, Zilian, and Ziyong, had already led a group of cultivator troops and arrived near the divine worship. Zilong, the great saintess, asked us to bring back some of our troops. Are we just going to ignore it? The second saintess, Zxian, said with a frown. The divine worship is of great importance. If we can't save the divine worship, the 4 of us will be sinners. The great saintess must want revenge. At this time, if we listen to her and mobilize some of our troops, then we may not be able to save the divine worship. At that time, will the female supreme blame the great saintess or the 4 of us? If we really listen to the great saintess, the 4 of us will really suffer. Zilong said lightly. Zxian was silent for a moment, then sighed softly and did not refute. In fact, she was quite regretful in her heart. Why did she choose to believe Zilong in the beginning? Now, it had led to such a big mistake. Even if they stopped the attackers this time, they would still be punished according to the clan's rules. I have already seen the attackers. Everyone, pay attention. Follow me and surround them. Since they dared to sneak attack our Zishuan clan's divine worship, they will pay with their lives. Zilong raised her arm and shouted to all the cultivator troop. Only the vast army of cultivators let out deafening shouts and then charged towards the divine worship like falling meteors. Outside of the explosion, the skinny man hidden in the darkness looked up at the dense cultivator army in the sky, blocking all their escape routes. Not only did he not panic, but the corners of his mouth even curled up into a sinister smile. I thought Zilong was stupid enough, but now I realize that I have overestimated her. Her stupidity is the most I have ever seen in my life. The skinny man sneered at the man beside him and calmly summoned his cosmic form. The moment the skinny man rushed out, the black-clothed men hiding in the dark also rushed out fearlessly. 4 of them are at the pinnacle of the Dharma plane of the universe. The rest are mostly at the early, middle, and pinnacle of the cosmic tribulation. The instant the black-clothed men launched their counterattack, Zilong and the others were shocked. They were intimidated by their formation. Although Zilong and the others still had the advantage in terms of formation, it was not so easy for them to take down this group of black-clothed men. Bang bang bang! Bang! The two sides clashed, and the battle reached its climax as soon as it began. Countless beams of energy bloomed, blooming with colorful brilliance in the night sky. In a hidden alley far away, Zhuowen, who had been paying attention to the divine warship, rubbed his forehead and said, "How stupid is Zilong to make such a low-level mistake again and again?" Lei Yu and Lei Jia were also worried. They looked at Zhuowen, asking if Zhuowen could activate the unparalleled Thunder God array. Not yet. The real master behind the scenes has not appeared. Let's wait and see. Since all of this was caused by Zilong, she should bear the responsibility. I have no obligation to clean up her mess, Zhuowen said calmly. Lei Jia and Lei Yu smiled bitterly and did not say anything else. Just as the divine warship was engaged in a fierce battle, a black divine warship broke out of the core inner city and swept towards the divine warship like a bolt of black lightning. This divine warship did not join the battle near the divine warship. Instead, it turned in the other direction and entered a mountain range north of the divine warship. It's the Black God. Fei Pengze is still in Zixian Sacred City? Zilong was fighting with the skinny man. Naturally, she noticed the black divine warship that had just passed by. She immediately recognized it as Fei Pengze's Black God. Fei Pengze, you heartless man! The second Saintess Zxian, who was fighting with another pinnacle cosmic Dharma plane master, recognized the Black God, and her beautiful face became twisted. She immediately abandoned the enemy in front of her and chased crazily towards the Black God that was heading towards the northern mountain range. The Black God seems to have come from the core inner city. Fei Pengze couldn't have done something in the core inner city, right? Saintess Zilian transmitted her voice to Zilong and Ziyong as she fought. When Long and Ziyong heard this, their hearts skipped a beat. They knew that things were not going well. No, the great Saintess is in charge of the core inner city. It's absolutely safe. Let's quickly deal with this and then return to the core inner city. Long hurriedly transmitted her voice, but her heart sank. She quickly remembered the young demonic cultivator's warning and the great Saintess Ziyuan's words. Difficult Dao, was she really wrong? I can't be wrong. The ones who are wrong are the great Saintess and the young demonic cultivator. The more Zilong thought, the more confused she became. The skinny man seized the opportunity and successfully attacked, forcing Zilong to panic and fall into a disadvantageous position. At the same time, the pinnacle cosmic Dharma plane master, who was originally the opponent of the second Saintess Zxian, joined the ranks of those besieging Zilong. He forced Zilong into danger, and the injuries on her body began to increase. No. Suddenly, there was a shrill and sharp scream from the northern mountain range. Long, Ziyong, and Zilian immediately recognized that the owner of the scream was Zxian. When they thought about it, they realized that there was another black shadow coming from the northern mountain range. This black shadow was the Black God that had left and returned. Here at this moment, at the bow of the Black God's deck, a young man stood upright. Beside Fei Pengze stood beside the young man, bowing respectfully, as if he was a servant. What frightened the three of them was that the ordinary-looking young man was grabbing the hair of the second Saintess Zxian with his right hand and pulling it like trash. While the eyes of the second Saintess Zxian were unfocused, and her body was limp. If not for the fact that there was still a trace of life, Zilong and the others would have thought that Zxian was already a corpse. It's a master from the defying ancient starlight, Long screamed, her eyes filled with despair. Chapter 4363. He's really a defying ancient starlight expert. Ziyong and Zilian could not help but look at the young man standing at the bow of the ship. They could naturally feel that the young man's aura was much stronger than theirs. Moreover, there was a mysterious starlight in his every movement, which was the symbol of the defying ancient starlight expert's divine power. Whoosh! Black wherever the divine ship passed, it set off a violent and fierce storm. In the blink of an eye, it stopped above the divine ship. Everyone. Only now did people discover that the youth at the bow of the black god ship had a head of strange gray hair. Every strand of hair was like a worm that wriggled in an irregular manner, as if they were living, slender earthworms. Green Yen wore a strange smiley face mask, only revealing a pair of gray and white pupils. His gray and white pupils faintly looked down at the divine ship below, which was still flowing with the light of the formation. He could not help but exclaim, "This divine ship is indeed a product of a super realm. It has set up such a large area of the third heaven of the eternal realm combined formation. This is really a big deal." Apart from the slightly dimmed formation patterns on the surface of the divine ship, there was no damage. It did not look like it had just been attacked at all. "Who are you? Why did you attack our divine ship? Don't you know the background of our Zixian clan?" Zilong hurriedly retreated from the battle and looked with fear at the young man who had just appeared with Ziyong and Zilian. Damn! The thin man and the others did not chase after them. Instead, they looked at Zilong and the others with ridicule. They knew that the appearance of this lord meant that the plan had succeeded. As for Zilong and the others, they would not be able to escape death. "I know, of course I know the background of your Zixian clan. Your two female supremes are just two bitches." "No, all the female supremes of your Zixian clan are bitches," the young man sneered. Zilong and the other two women's faces changed slightly as they retorted gloomily. The female supremes were the supreme leader of their Zixian clan and their spiritual pillar. How could they allow the young man to insult their respected female supremes? "Haha, I'm telling the truth. You are saintesses, so you should know the secret of becoming a female supremes, right? How did your Zixian clan rise so quickly? A long time ago, you were still an inconspicuous clan, but now you have become the undisputed #1 clan in a higher realm? Isn't it because the women of the Zixian clan served the so-called big shots of super realms so well that they were willing to be female slaves and let them play with them in exchange for the glory of the Zixian clan?" The mocking smile on the young man's lips grew wider and wider. He didn't restrain his voice at all. Instead, it grew louder. "Shut up. Don't even think about slandering our Zixian clan." The faces of Zilong and the others changed drastically, and they couldn't help but berate him. Far somewhere, in a hidden alley, Zhuowen's eyes. When he first learned about the history of the rise of the Zixian clan, he also felt a little strange. The Zixian clan was very weak. They did not have any amazing geniuses, nor did they have any weapons that could intimidate most domains. The sudden rise of such a clan was very suspicious in Zhuowen's eyes. Now, the young man's words made Zhuowen completely understand that the rise of the Zixian clan was relying on women as a weapon. Thinking of this, Zhuowen couldn't help but look at Lei Yu and Lei Jia beside him. They were the older generation of the Thunder Array clan, so they should know more about the Zixian clan than he did. He wondered if they knew such secret. "Don't look at us. We're not members of the Zixian clan, so we don't have the right to know their real secret. But the two female supremes often take the divine ship to the super realms. As for what they do, we don't know." Lei Yu spread out his hands and said helplessly, "Slander? Ha!" Nian sneered disdainfully and continued, "If you want to live, then surrender. That way, you still have a chance to live. Don't even think about it, this is Zixian's sacred city. You want us to surrender? What a joke. Get into formation and kill him together." Long's eyes revealed a ruthless look as she commanded the cultivator army to form a special and powerful battle formation. Number the power of tens of thousands of cultivator army joined together and surged toward the young man with an earth-shattering momentum. "Sir, be careful. Just as the skinny man was about to lead a group of black-clothed men to block the attack for the young man casually waved his hand and stopped the skinny man. The skinny man hesitated for a moment, then nodded and retreated with a group of black-clothed men. The terrifying attack was like an endless wave, and in the blink of an eye, it appeared above the black god. Gong Feipingze, who was standing respectfully behind the young man, saw that the terrifying energy wave was about to overturn, and his heart thumped wildly. He was extremely nervous. If the young man wasn't still here, he would have steered the black god away from this terrifying attack. Only, the young man opened his right palm and clenched it toward the sky. The mighty wave of energy seemed to have come to a standstill, completely stopping in the air. In front of the reverse ancient starlight, no matter how many people there are, it is difficult to gain any advantage because there is a qualitative difference between the two. Now I'll let you see how big the difference is. The young man's voice was arrogant and unruly. He stretched out his right hand and squeezed fiercely. The energy wave suspended in the sky completely collapsed, and countless energy surged out and turned into countless energy ripples. Under the young man's control, the countless energy ripples were dyed with strange starlight, and then turned into a counteracting shockwave that blasted toward the cultivator army of the Zixien clan. Bang! 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 In the entire void there were continuous explosions. An astonishing number of the cultivator army were sent flying in all directions by the terrifying shockwave. Many cultivator army soldiers were directly destroyed by the shockwave, and couldn't be more dead. The three saintesses, Zilong, Ziyong, and Zilian, were also having a hard time resisting. They couldn't help but retreat repeatedly, and a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of their mouths. 3. The woman stabilized her body in shock and anger. When she looked at the black god in the distance again, she found that only Feipingze was left at the bow of the black god. The young man with the strange mask had disappeared without a trace. Not good, he's above us. Run. Ziyong suddenly looked up and exclaimed. The young man hovered above them, his right hand shining with starlight, and gently pressed down. Endless starlight surged and condensed into a huge whirlpool-like galaxy. Boom! Boom! The huge river of stars quickly came crashing down and landed on the three women. Block it! Zilong shouted and controlled the huge Dharma, holding up the arms above her. Ziyong and Zilian also used all their strength to resist the terrifying galaxy with difficulty. However, this strange galaxy was extremely heavy. The moment it fell on them, their Dharma's huge hands were crushed to pieces, while the three of them were mercilessly crushed and fell heavily to the ground. Feipingze and the skinny man's eyes were filled with awe and passion. This was the power of the reverse ancient starlight. With a raise of the hand, it could crush a pinnacle Dharma master of the universe without any resistance. Chapter 43-64. The young man waved his arm casually. He didn't even look at the three saintesses who were struggling under the river of stars. His gaze passed through the countless buildings in Zixien's sacred city and landed on the inner city. He saw that the inner city had already activated a powerful defensive array. The other areas of Zixien's sacred city were in a mess. Many cultivators were trying to escape the sacred city and hide as far away as possible. Let's go. Follow me to the inner city. If we can successfully obtain the sacred fire source, all of you will have contributed greatly. Especially Feipingze. You have done well. The young man looked deeply at Feipingze and smiled. Feipingze drove the black god to the young man's side. He knelt on one knee and quickly said, "Sir, you are too kind. It is Pengze's honor to be able to serve you." The young man nodded and stepped into the black god. Just as Feipingze was about to drive the black god away, dense and terrifying array patterns suddenly appeared in the surroundings. These array patterns were like endless fishes, entangling the surroundings and enveloping Feipingze, the young man, and the group of black-clothed men in a ring shape. Someone set up an array here in advance? Feipengze asked. Feipengze frowned slightly. His eyes were extremely cold, but he didn't pay too much attention to it. The array patterns that suddenly appeared weren't that powerful. Therefore, he thought that it was just an ordinary array and activated the 5-god cannon inside the black god. Boom, boom, boom. The huge cannon released a terrifying energy blast that penetrated the array patterns in front of them. Bzzzt. Bzzzt. However, to Feipengze's horror, the moment the energy blast came into contact with the array patterns, the surface of the array patterns suddenly exploded with terrifying purple lightning. The terrifying purple lightning directly engulfed the energy cannons and rapidly spread towards the black god ship. Feipengze's expression changed greatly. He immediately drove the black god to avoid the purple lightning. The speed of the black god was indeed very fast. The purple lightning didn't catch up with the black god, but the entire array suddenly changed. The originally harmless-looking densely packed runes burst forth with dense purple lightning and began to descend indiscriminately. Within the array, purple lightning was everywhere and was as dense as a torrential downpour. No matter how fast the black god ship was, where could it hide within the array? We've been tricked. The Zhixian clan actually has another ambush. Nian's expression changed. He formed a seal with his right hand. Resplendent starlight spread out, forming a solid starlight barrier around the black deity. Xian Yan was indeed an expert of the defying ancient starlight realm. The starlight shield he condensed was indeed powerful, blocking the terrifying purple lightning around him. However, the men in black were not so lucky. Under the attack of the purple thunder, most of them screamed and turned into ashes. Only the 4 top Dharma laws of the universe, led by the skinny man, managed to hold on and did not die immediately. As for Zhuowen and the others who were hiding in the distant alley, the moment they activated the peerless lightning god array, they no longer hid their track. One after another, they walked out of the alley and came to the outside of the array. Zhuowen looked at the undamaged divine warship and muttered, "If I knew that they couldn't do any substantial damage to the divine warship, I wouldn't have gone through so much trouble to only set up the peerless lightning god array to help the Zhixian clan." However, this was only Zhuowen's complaint. After all, there were too many uncertainties. The men in black couldn't do any substantial damage to the divine warship, but the youth was an expert of the defying ancient starlight realm. There was no guarantee that he could destroy the divine warship with just a few hits. The Lightning Array clan. I didn't expect the Zhixian clan to arrange for you to ambush here. It's my mistake. I didn't think of you. Nian's face was gloomy. He looked coldly at Lei Jia and Lei Yu. With his eyes, he naturally saw the Lightning Array clan symbol on their clothes. "Little friend, I'll leave the peerless lightning god array to you. Lei Jia and I will go in to save them," Lei Yu instructed Zhuowen in a serious tone. Holding the array flag in his hand, he stepped into the unparalleled lightning god array with Lei Jia. None the purple lightning in the peerless lightning god array attacked indiscriminately. Therefore, Zilong, Ziyong, Zilian, and Zxian, who was on the verge of death, were all attacked by the purple lightning. At this moment their condition was extremely bad. Fortunately, Lei Jia and Lei Yu arrived in time. They had the corresponding array flags in their hands. Therefore, the peerless lightning god array didn't attack them, allowing them to quickly reach Zilong and the others. Don't even think about saving them. The youth's eyes were ruthless. He jumped out of the black godship. His body was surrounded by dazzling starlight, blocking all the purple lightning around him. Then, he rushed toward Lei Jia, Lei Yu, and the others as fast as lightning. Large outside the array, Zhuowen's lips curled into a mocking smile. He said to himself faintly, "It's time to let you taste the true power of the peerless lightning god array." After saying that, Zhuowen waved the array flag in his hand. It drew a beautiful trajectory in the void. Original the grand formation that was originally only capable of releasing purple lightning suddenly changed its aura. Then, one after another, incomparably gigantic purple lightning giants rose from the ground and flew toward the young man without any fear of death. Original at the same time, the purple lightning in the array began to turn black. Moreover, the number of lightning bolts became larger and denser, enveloping everyone in the array. Original the skinny man and the other three, who were still struggling to hold on, screamed unwillingly and turned into ashes in the black thunderstorm. Original, Fei Pengze was trembling all over. His face was pale. He immediately turned the black god ship into a black egg, wrapped him up, and hid at the edge of the array. Original, the Thunder God Phantoms held all kinds of thunder weapons and launched fierce attacks on the youth without any regard for their lives. Green, Nian's face finally changed. He realized that this was not an ordinary third sky of Eternal Realm array. It was much more terrifying than the ordinary third sky of Eternal Realm arrays he had seen before. The youth had just blocked the attacks of several Thunder God Phantoms in front of him. Suddenly, several Thunder God Phantoms attacked him from behind and bombarded his back. The youth spat out a mouthful of blood. He fell from the air in a sorry state and hit the ground heavily. Good. Due to his powerful strength, most of the attacks were offset by the dazzling starlight surrounding him. Green Yin knew that he couldn't hold back anymore. Otherwise, he would really die in this strange array. I didn't expect to be forced to use my full strength so soon. Damn it, the plan can't keep up with the changes. Nian sighed. He stood up again. The starlight around him became more dazzling and blazing. With a loud rumble, an incomparably huge starlight world appeared in the void behind him. Original, this starlight world was oval in shape. Inside it were bright stars, blooming with eternal starlight. Below the starlight world was a giant with a terrifying physique. He held the starlight world with both hands and slowly stood up, causing the starlight world to rise. Original at this moment, the youth's momentum became completely different. Chapter 43-65. Boom, boom, boom. When the starlight world was lifted up by the giant, the young man's aura changed completely. He became more powerful and terrifying, like a butterfly breaking out of a cocoon and becoming a completely different person. When the surrounding Thunder God Phantoms attacked again, the young man snorted and rolled up his sleeves. The giant behind him held up the starlight world with both hands and swung it in all directions. The vast starlight world was blooming with resplendent starlight as it swept over. The specks of starlight emitted a piercing cold light. Under the influence of the starlight world, the invincible Thunder God Phantoms were repelled and couldn't get close to the young man. Huh? Is this the power of the reverse ancient starlight world? Zhuowen silently looked at the starlight world behind the young man and the giant holding it up, his eyes revealing a look of understanding. The moment he saw the starlight world and the giant, Zhuowen thought of the universe world and the cosmic law idol. The starlight world of the reverse ancient starlight world was an evolved version of the universe world, and the giant was similar to the cosmic law idol, but more powerful. XDW8 It seemed that the reverse ancient starlight world should have perfectly integrated the characteristics of the universe tribulation and the cosmic law idol, forming a new powerful vision. This vision was called the reverse ancient starlight. The reverse ancient starlight world was the manifestation of the unique power of the reverse ancient starlight world, including the starlight world and the celestial giant. Since the fall of the seven emotions, six desires Saint Lord, his reverse ancient starlight world was no longer complete. His celestial giant was annihilated with his fall, leaving only the starlight world. Unfortunately, although this person's cultivation is also at the reverse ancient starlight world, the gap between him and the seven emotions, six desires Saint Lord is too big. Zhuowen secretly shook his head. He had come into contact with the starlight world of the 7 emotions, 6 desires Saint Lord, and could clearly feel the huge gap between the two. There was no doubt that the young man was only at the early stage of the reverse ancient starlight world, while the 7 emotions 6 desires Saint Lord was at the peak of the reverse ancient starlight world. The two couldn't be compared at all. His peerless thunder god array was at the peak of the 3rd sky of the eternal realm. Although it might not be able to trap the peak of the reverse ancient starlight world, it was more than enough to trap this person. Just as Zhuowen was deep in thought, the young man unleashed his prowess. The starlight world hanging above his head emitted dazzling starlight that rained down like a meteor shower. Under the stimulation of the starlight, the aura of the celestial form giant became more and more terrifying. Then, it strode forward and engaged in a fierce battle with the surrounding phantoms of the Thunder God, suppressing all the phantoms of the Thunder God in one fell swoop. One after another, the Thunder God's phantoms dimmed under the bombardment. They looked like they were about to collapse at any moment. However, Zhuowen did not panic. The true power of the peerless Thunder God formation had yet to be fully unleashed. Zhuowen glanced at Lei Jia, Lei Yu, and the others who had successfully left the formation. The smile on his face became even colder. Zhuowen's hand seals suddenly changed, and the aura of the peerless lightning god array suddenly became much more stagnant. The silhouettes of the Thunder God, which had been completely suppressed by the giant celestial form, collapsed one after another. The strange thunderbolts around the entire formation also vanished in the blink of an eye. The huge peerless lightning god array seemed to have suddenly stopped at this moment. The young man raised his eyebrows. His long and narrow eyes fell on Zhuowen, who was outside the formation. He said coldly, "Are you at your wits' end?" Zhuowen did not answer. His hands suddenly formed the last seal, causing the young man's face to change abruptly. The originally quiet and strange formation was once again filled with terrifying purple thunderbolts. The rolling purple thunderbolts seemed to be attracted by some kind of force, and were attracted to the center of the formation. They constantly condensed and shrank, and turned into a beating heart. However, this heart was purely formed by purple thunderbolts in a strange way. The sound of the heart beating resounded between heaven and earth. Moreover, every time it resounded, it would increase the pressure in the surroundings, causing everything in the surroundings to be unable to breathe. The young man's heart was beating extremely fast. He had an extremely ominous premonition in his mind. The source of the ominous feeling was this strange heart that was purely formed by purple thunderbolts. "I must destroy this heart." The young man's face was extremely serious. Although he did not know what this heart would eventually evolve into, he knew that if he did not take action, this heart would cause a very serious impact and damage to him. The young man made a prompt decision. He drove the Starlight World and Giant Celestial to launch the fiercest attack on the purple thunderbolt heart. However, to the young man's horror, the heart began to grow stronger. Even if the Starlight World and Giant Celestial did their best, they still could not stop this heart from growing stronger. Zhuowen silently watched everything that happened in the peerless lightning god array, and his heart was full of sneers. This heart was the core of the peerless lightning god array. As time passed, the heart would continue to absorb purple thunderbolts, condense flesh and bones, and eventually turn into a real lightning god. Once the lightning god was formed, even the middle stage or late stage ancient starlight experts may not be able to stop it, let alone this young man who was only at the early stage ancient starlight stage. The moment the young man failed to attack the heart, Zhuowen already knew that the former's ending was doomed. The moment the purple thunderbolt heart was formed, it was the weakest moment. The young man could not even destroy the purple thunderbolt heart at its weakest moment, so it was basically impossible for him to do anything else. When the lightning god was finally formed, the young man would die. Zhuowen did not pay any more attention to the young man. In his opinion, the young man was undoubtedly dead. His gaze fell on Lei Yu and Lei Jia, who had already arrived in front of him. At this moment, the two of them brought the wounded Zi Long, Zi Yong, Zi Lian and Zi Xian to Zhuowen's side. In particular, Zi Xian's injuries were extremely serious. Not only were her physical injuries terrible, but even the foundation of her divine soul was damaged. At this moment, she was muddle-headed and her eyes were dull. "It's you. Why are you, a wanted criminal, here?" Because Zhuowen had been staying in this remote alley, Zi Long did not notice Zhuowen after being rescued. Now, as soon as she entered the alley, she recognized Zhuowen. Wasn't he the young demonic cultivator who was crazily wanted by them during this period of time? The two saintesses, Zi Lian and Zi Yong, also looked at Zhuowen vigilantly. Although they had never seen Zhuowen, they had seen Zhuowen's portrait. At a glance, they recognized that the young man in front of them was exactly the same as the wanted criminal's portrait drawn by Zi Long Slap. However, as soon as Zi Long finished speaking, she felt a strong wind sweeping over and fiercely landing on her cheek. The crisp sound of the slap was extremely ear-piercing. Zi Long covered her burning right cheek. Bright blood even flowed out from the corner of her mouth. It could be seen how heavy the slap was. Chapter 4366. Zhuowen slowly withdrew his right hand and said indifferently, "For the sake of Lei Yu and Lei Jia, I can let bygones be bygones. But if you still dare to say that I'm a wanted criminal, then don't blame me for being rude. You've got some guts. I'm Zi Long, the third saintess of the Zi Xian clan. How dare you hit me? Do you believe that I won't let you leave Zi Xian sacred city?" Zi Long almost screamed, her voice sharp and ear-piercing. Slap. Another crisp sound of a slap completely covered Zi Long's sharp cry. "You have to pay the price for speaking without thinking." Zhuowen slowly withdrew his right hand and looked coldly at Zi Long, who was covering her cheek. Zi Long finally sobered up a little. She covered her cheek and looked at Zhuowen with resentment and said, "If I wasn't seriously injured and didn't have any extra strength, you wouldn't have the right to be arrogant now." Zi Long knew that Zhuowen's cultivation was only at the great tribulation of heaven and earth. In her opinion, Zhuowen was taking advantage of her to slap her several times. XDW8 if she wasn't injured, then he wouldn't have the chance to be arrogant. Slap. "Did I let you speak?" Zhuowen gave him another backhand slap. Slap. "When I'm talking, are you qualified to interrupt?" Zhuowen slapped her again. Finally, Zi Long was completely frightened by Zhuowen and didn't dare to make a sound. She just covered her cheek and stared at Zhuowen in shock and anger. "Lei Jia, Lei Yu, what are you waiting for? Help me take down this man. He simply doesn't care about the Zi Xian clan and Zi Xian sacred city. This man must be eliminated to be at peace." Zi Long was very dissatisfied with the silent Lei Yu and Lei Jia. "Third Saintess, I think you misunderstood. This is Mo1. He is your savior. If it weren't for him, you would have died in the hands of that man." Lei Jia finally spoke. She pointed at the young man who was still trapped in the peerless lightning god array and spoke in a very impolite tone. She had long disliked Zi Long. Now that things had come to this Zi Long was still so impulsive. Was she really brainless? Third Saintess, Patriarch Lei Jia seems to be right. Look, this kid is controlling the formation to trap the enemy and create an opportunity for us to escape. Fifth Saintess Zilian suddenly thought of something and said. She and Zi Yong were not blind. They knew exactly what had happened earlier. Coupled with the fact that the divine warship had been attacked as scheduled, they were beginning to realize that Zi Long's previous judgment had been completely wrong, including the fact that she had placed a bounty on this young demonic cultivator. They even began to suspect that Zi Long had been deceiving them all this while, which led to such a huge mistake. At the same time, they couldn't help but recall the words of the great Saintess. They now understood that the great Saintess was right. Humph. This person must be in cahoots with that person. The two of them are just putting on an act to gain our trust and use it to carry out some kind of conspiracy. Zilong's eyes were full of resentment. She shouted at the top of her lungs. She couldn't be wrong. Saintess Zilong, please conduct yourself with dignity. If it weren't for nephew Mowen, you would have died. How could you be as lively as you are now? Not only are you ungrateful, but you also want to slander him. Don't go too far. Lei Jia couldn't stand it anymore and scolded coldly. Lei Yu, Ju Yuan, and Qin Yin's faces were also very ugly. Zilong was really too much. She had reached the point where she couldn't distinguish between black and white. Did I beg him to save me? And with my strength, I can get out of here soon. Him saving me is just superfluous, Zilong said shamelessly. Lei Jia and others were trembling with anger. Ziyong and Zilian also couldn't stand it anymore. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Zilong and the others were already at the end of their rope. If Zhuowen and others hadn't rescued them in time, they would have died. Zilong, on the other hand, blamed Zhuowen for his superfluous action. People could be so shameless. Zhuowen was not surprised. As early as the first time he came into contact with Zilong, Zhuowen already knew what kind of person she was. Arguing with her was simply looking for trouble. Suddenly, Zhuowen's face changed greatly. In that instant, he felt an extremely dangerous dark and cold aura, like a poisonous snake rushing up from the soles of his feet to his Tianling acupoint. The terrifying cold filled his limbs and bones, even deep into his bone marrow, and reached the depths of his soul. His movements became extremely slow, and his reaction became much slower, as if he was playing in slow motion. Zhuowen turned his head with difficulty and found that Lei Jia, Zilong and others were frozen. Their expressions were frozen for a moment and completely still. Enemy attack. In an instant, Zhuowen understood that they had been attacked by some kind of strange power. If it weren't for Zhuowen's soul being really strong, his end might have been the same as Lei Jia and others. His body and soul would have been frozen in an instant. Zhuowen quietly operated the immemorial primordial chant and completely dispelled the cold feeling in the depths of his soul. His limbs and bones also recovered a lot. After recovering, Zhuowen did not act rashly. Instead, he observed silently. This person could secretly make everyone present fall into the trap. It could be seen that this person must be a defying ancient starlight expert. Zhuowen guessed that this person was likely to be stronger than the youth trapped in the peerless thunder god array. He was probably a defying ancient starlight expert. Sure enough, Zhuowen didn't have to wait for long. He perceived that the cold breath in the surroundings had become more and more intense, as if the surroundings had suddenly become an icehouse with extremely low temperature. The crisp and lazy footsteps were getting closer and closer, passing by Lei Jia, Zilong and others, but stopped beside Zhuowen for a moment. Zhuowen still maintained the same expression as before, as if he was frozen by the strange cold aura like Lei Jia and the others. But in his heart, he was vigilant to the extreme. If this person attacked him, Zhuowen would not hesitate to fight back. To Zhuowen's relief, the footsteps sounded again. Finally, the person passed by Zhuowen and walked towards the peerless thunder god array. Zhuowen unconsciously glanced at the owner of the clear and lazy footsteps and discovered that it was the back of a woman with a graceful figure. She was wearing a tight-fitting black leather jacket that outlined her full and alluring figure, causing people to be lost in fanciful thoughts. At this moment, the youth in the peerless thunder god array was being suppressed by the thunder god. He was spitting blood and was in a very difficult situation. The youth's starlight world and celestial giant were even dimmer under the attack of the thunder god, as if they would collapse at any time. Luo Ye, you finally came. Quickly help me out, I can't hold on any longer. The youth shouted for help. The woman named Luo Ye looked at the youth mockingly and said, Hey Fa, you can't even deal with a few cosmic manifestation experts. Don't you feel ashamed? Hei Fei's face was gloomy and said, "If it weren't for this strange and powerful array, I would have already destroyed this group of trash." Chapter 4367. This aura is so powerful. This formation is actually at the peak of the third heavenly layer of the eternal realm. This level of formation isn't something I can break. Luo Ye frowned slightly. Hei Fei said anxiously, "Don't play dumb with me. With the power of your inverse ancient star form, it's easy for you to take me out." Luo Ye looked in the direction of the inner city, and said indifferently, "Well, we really don't have much time." After saying that, Luo Ye's aura suddenly changed. A huge inverse ancient star form appeared in the void behind her. Luo Ye's inverse ancient star form was also formed by a huge starlight world and an astral giant. Luo Ye's astral giant was more feminine, while her starlight world was softer, but there was a creepy feeling in the depths. As soon as Luo Ye's inverse ancient star form appeared, the surrounding temperature dropped rapidly, as if it had entered a cold winter. The creepy feeling was even more intense, like an all-pervasive poisonous snake that could drill into the depths of one's bones at any time, constantly gnawing on one's flesh, blood, bones, and even soul. Luo Ye gently waved her snow-white hand. The astral giant behind her knelt on the ground with one knee, holding the starlight world with both hands, sprinkling down bits of starlight. The starlight was more like cold ice fragments. As soon as it landed on the ground, it froze and cracked small holes in the ground. While under the influence of these strange ice fragments, Luo Ye's entire body became more transparent. Looking from afar, she looked more like a transparent ice sculpture. Luo Ye. At this moment Luo Ye moved. She gently took a step forward with her right foot and stepped into the edge of the unparalleled lightning god formation. What Luo Ye thought was that the rainstorm-like endless purple lightning in the unparalleled lightning god formation couldn't cause any harm to her. Then, the moment the purple lightning landed on Luo Ye's body, it was as if it had touched air, directly passing through her body. Originally, Zhuowen, who was standing not far away and pretending to be frozen, naturally saw this scene. His pupils couldn't help but shrink. As expected, this Luoya wasn't simple. Her ancient defying celestial phenomenon was very unique. It was actually able to transform her body into some sort of spiritual body, allowing her to ingeniously avoid the attacks of the violet lightning that descended from the peerless thunder god formation. A short while later, Luo Ye arrived beside Hei Fei and grabbed his arm with her jade-like hands. Here at this moment, Black Fa was in an extremely sorry state. He had just been sent flying by the thunder god's punch and heavily smashed into the ground. Boom! Boom! And at that instant the god of thunder did not stop. He walked over with large strides and raised his enormous foot high. Then, he ruthlessly stomped down on Hei Fei, who was on the ground, as well as Luo Ye, who was beside him. Whole countless thunderous booms rang out in the air. The thunder god's kick was extremely powerful. If it landed on Hei Fei's body, even if Hei Fei didn't die, he would at least lose a layer of skin. By thunder god Yu's speed was too fast. Just as Black Fa got up and grabbed Luo Ye's jade-like hand, the giant foot fell from above his head. The ground cracked open, and a small crater appeared. Rolling purple thunderbolts swept through the crater like waves. Thunder after the god of thunder god raised his foot. He found that Hei Fei and Luo Ye were still alive and kicking. They didn't seem to be injured at all. "Let's go. My secret technique won't last for long. Don't waste time." Luo Ye held Hei Fei's hand and quickly left the crater. She rushed out of the formation. The god of thunder chased after them. He controlled the endless purple thunderbolts in the formation to form obstacles one after another. He wanted to use them to stop Luo Ye and Luo Ye's footstep. However, Luo Ye and Hei Fei seemed to have turned into air. The purple thunderbolts around them directly passed through them. They couldn't hurt them at all. When the two of them completely left the peerless thunder god formation, the god of thunder in the formation roared angrily. Then, he turned into endless purple thunderbolts and disappeared into the core of the formation. Clang! After the two of them successfully left the peerless thunder god formation, Luo Ya's face was slightly pale. It was obvious that the secret technique just now had taken a toll on her. When Xin, on the other hand, sank to the bottom, Luo Ya's technique was too strange. He had been observing it all along, but he couldn't see what the original form of Luo Ya's ability was. If he were to face this ability, he would probably be like the peerless thunder god formation. He wouldn't be able to cause any harm to Luo Ya at all. Luo Ya, thank you. If it weren't for you, I would have died in this formation, Heife said. His eyes were filled with lingering fear. His cold gaze fell on Zhuowen, who wasn't far away. He was filled with killing intent. What are you doing? Luo Ya saw Heife walking straight toward Zhuowen. She couldn't help but stop him and ask, "Humph. This strange formation is controlled by this kid. I was almost killed by him. Do you think I can take this lying down?" Heife said with a murderous look. "Since you've already gotten the key, go to the core of the inner city immediately. Otherwise, when the two bitches from the Zishuan clan get the news, they'll definitely ask those old guys from the super regions for help. Once the experts from the super regions get involved, we won't have a chance," Luo Ya warned. Luo Ya reminded him coldly and continued, "Moreover, they've all been hit by my extreme yin qi. They won't be able to live for long. They'll die eventually. Why should we waste our time on these ants?" Heife snorted coldly. He stared at Zhuowen with a sinister look. Then, he reluctantly left with Luo Ya and rushed toward the core of the inner city. Not long after they left, Zhuowen tore off his disguise after confirming that there was no danger. He looked in the direction that Luo Ya and Heife left. He didn't plan to chase after them, nor did he have any intention of informing the Zishuan clan. He had already warned the Zishuan clan unconditionally. It could be said that he had done everything he could. If it wasn't for the fact that the divine warship wasn't destroyed, he wouldn't even bother to remind the Zishuan clan. Zhuowen came to Lei Jia, Lei Yu, and the others. He found that their bodies were surrounded by the strange yin qi. At this moment they were in an extremely dangerous situation. Zhuowen used the power of the primordial chaos technique to help Lei Jia, Lei Yu, Jiuyuan, and Chen Yin dissolve the yin qi on their bodies. Clang! After Zhuowen dealt with the four people's yin qi, he found that the three saintesses, Zilong, Ziyong, and Zilian, who were standing not far away, had all awakened. It seemed that the three saintesses also kept their own trump cards. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them to dissolve the yin qi's invasion in such a short period of time. After Ziyong and Zilian regained their mobility, they helped the dying Zxian dissolve the yin qi. Ziyonglong, on the other hand, glanced at Zhuowen in surprise. Clearly, she found it inconceivable that Zhuowen could also dispel the powerful cold aura. Boom! Boom! At the same time, an extremely terrifying explosion came from the direction of the core of the inner city. An extremely terrifying battle was taking place there. In the sky above the core of the inner city, there were three huge inverse ancient celestial bodies confronting each other. Chapter 4368. Not good, they have invaded the core inner city. That is Zi Qiongdren's defying ancient star form. Has Zi Qiongdren been forced to come out? Zi Long looked at the terrifying battle in the core inner city, and her face finally changed. Ziqiong is one of the two female masters of the Zixuan clan. Her strength is extremely good. She is a middle stage defying ancient starlight stage powerhouse. Zs. Ziqiong, as a female master, has been in seclusion for a long time. She often leaves Zixian's sacred city, and her whereabouts are erratic. She rarely appears in person. Now Zi Qiong is forced to come out in person, and Zi Long and others also understand the seriousness of the matter. Lei Jia, Lei Yu, now Zixian Sacred City is in a great disaster. As a member of the Leisian clan, you are bound to our Zixian clan for good or ill. We need your help. Take that big array and come with me to the core inner city. Zi Long suddenly looked at Lei Jia and Lei Yu and used an unquestionable tone to order. Lei Jia, Lei Yu, Zhu Yuan, and Chen Yin frowned. They didn't like Zi Long's behavior. He, the Leisian clan, and their Zixian clan are in a cooperative relationship, not a master-servant relationship. Zi Long is only the third holy maiden. She doesn't have such a big right to order their Leisian clan. But what Zi Long said is not wrong. Their Leisian clan and Zixian clan are indeed bound together for good or ill. If Zixian clan is in trouble, their Leisian clan can't stand alone. Third Saintess, this array is called the Peerless Divine Lightning Array. It wasn't set up by us, but by nephew Mo1. Lei Jia and I are controlling it together, but we are unable to unleash its full power. Only nephew Mo1 can unleash its full power, Lei Yu said indifferently. Zilong frowned slightly. She looked coldly at Zhuowen and said in a deep voice, "You are called Mo1, right? Then you take this big array and come with us to the core inner city." Mo1 sneered at Zilong, who took it for granted, and said indifferently, "Why should I help your Zixian clan? I still remember that I kindly reminded you that there would be an enemy attack, but what did you do? You're going to arrest me without any reason? Now that your Zixuan clan is in trouble, you want me to help you? Aren't you thinking too highly of yourself? Let me ask you, who do you think you are?" Zilong was so angry that she was trembling. She said gloomily, "I didn't say that I would let you help me for free. As long as you help the Zixian clan this time, you will gain the friendship of the Zixian clan, and your arrest warrant will be removed immediately." When sneered in his heart, Zilong's arrest warrant for him was originally unjust, causing him to be wanted for no reason. Now, in Zilong's mouth, removing the arrest warrant had instead become a kind of reward. It was truly laughable to the extreme. Get lost. I'm not a member of your Zixian clan. If you dare to be long-winded again, I'll kill you right now. Zhuowen flicked his sleeves and left without even looking at Zilong. "You will regret this." Zilong's eyes were filled with hatred as she shouted, "Third Saintess, you're going a bit too far. Honorable nephew Mo1 is your savior, yet you're treating him like this. It's really disappointing." Lei Jia refuted Zilong without any trace of politeness. Yet Zilong was indifferent, and she said indifferently, "He's just an itinerant cultivator without any background. It's his honor that I asked him to help, yet he's actually so arrogant. Once the crisis of Zixian Holy City passes, he'll have to die as well." Lei Jiao, Lei Yu and others showed disgust in their eyes. They didn't even think about it. They put away the Peerless Thunder God array and followed Zhuowen in the direction of his departure. "Where are you going?" Zilong's face changed slightly. "Nephew Mo1 is our friend, and you treat our friend like this, which is also an indirect insult to our Thunder Array clan. Since your Zixian clan is so powerful, I'm afraid our Thunder Array clan can't help." Lei Yu said a sentence without looking back, and took Lei Jia, the Zhu Yuan and Chen Yin away. "Humph! I really don't know what I'm talking about. The Thunder Array clan is looking for death. I must punish them afterwards." Zilong snorted coldly. "Enough. Zilong, are you done yet? Who exactly is the one who caused today's disaster? Could it be that you still haven't realized it? It's you, it's all your fault." Therefore, Ziyong, who was standing on the side, couldn't help but scold Zilong loudly. Her delicate face was red and her eyes were full of hatred. "Yes. Originally, we could still save it. As long as we win over Lei Jia, Lei Yu and others of the Thunder Array clan, relying on the Peerless Thunder God Array, we can make up for our crimes. You actually drove all of them away in anger. How far will you harm us before you stop?" Zi Lian also said angrily. Two holy maiden Zxian had already woken up, but because of her serious injuries, she was supported by Zi Yong and Zi Lian. Although she didn't speak, it could be seen from her eyes that she was full of resentment towards Zi Long Yu. How can you do this? I did this for our own good, and to maintain the dignity of our Zi Xian clan. Zi Long's heart was in a state of panic as she retorted. For our own good? I think it's all for your own selfish reasons. You didn't do it to protect the dignity of the Zi Xian clan. You just want to protect your own pitiful and lowly self-esteem. For your own selfish reasons you dragged all of us down. You really make us sick. Zi Yong said resentfully. Let's go back and find the Great Holy Maiden. With the Great Holy Maiden's relationship with Lei Jia, there might still be a chance to turn things around. Also, we must expose Zi Long's crimes. All of this was caused by her, and it has nothing to do with us. Zi Yong didn't even look at Zi Long. After speaking to Zi Lian and Zxian, both of them agreed. Zi Long's expression changed greatly. Looking at the backs of Zi Yong and the other two leaving in a hurry, she felt powerless. She knew that she was done for. If the three holy maidens pushed the blame to her, she wouldn't be able to defend herself even if she tried to argue. When Zi Yong and the other two entered the core inner city, they discovered that the Great City Barrier Array had already been activated. Only however, the huge Great City Barrier Array didn't cause much damage to the three people fighting inside. The Great City Barrier Array was even full of cracks from the aftermath of the three people's battle, and it was about to collapse at any time. Under the influence of the battle, most of the originally neat and orderly inner city had turned into ruins. Many of the Zi Xian clan's clansmen had died inside. At this moment, the Great Holy Maiden was stopping the few cultivators in the inner city from moving the surviving clansmen. Great Holy Maiden, we know our mistakes. Please punish us. Zi Yong and the other two hurriedly walked to the Great Holy Maiden, Zi Yuan, and knelt on the ground, sincerely expressing their apologies. Zi Yuan looked at the three of them indifferently and asked, "Where is the third Holy Maiden, Zi Long?" When it came to Zi Long, Zi Yong and the other two became extremely agitated. They kept recounting Zi Long's crimes and how they were blinded by Zi Long's instigation. In any case, in their mouths, everything was Zi Long's fault, and they were actually the victims. The Great Holy Maiden, Zi Yuan, looked deeply at Zi Yong and the other two, but didn't say anything. Instead, she said indifferently, "Moving the clansmen is more important now. Lord Ziqiong has already blocked 2 invaders. After moving all the surviving clansmen, we will also join the battle and help Lord Ziqiong." Chapter 4369. Near the divine warship, a black shadow slowly emerged from the darkness. Upon closer inspection, the black shadow was actually a round black egg. There were complicated patterns on the surface of the egg, and it was currently emitting a faint glow. Crack! Squeak! Squeak! Suddenly, the black egg emitted a soft sound similar to the sound of metal rubbing against each other. The black egg slowly unfolded and a wretched figure slowly crawled out from the core of the egg. The figure spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was extremely pale, and there was still lingering fear in his eyes. Phew! I almost died. I didn't expect this formation to be so powerful. If it wasn't for the Black God, I wouldn't even be left with dregs. The figure was a middle-aged man. He had a bitter smile on his face as he muttered to himself. Looks like Lord Black Law and the others have already started to move. I'd better leave quickly. The middle-aged man looked at the terrifying battle in the inner city, and his eyes were filled with fear. His body trembled slightly and he planned to leave this place. Where do you plan to go, Fei Pengze? Just as the middle-aged man was about to escape, an indifferent voice suddenly rang out. Fei Pengze's pupils shrank to the size of needles. He quickly turned around and looked in the direction of the divine warship behind him. he saw a young demonic cultivator with demonic aura around him and scarlet eyes walking over leisurely. You didn't leave? Fei Pengze exclaimed. Fei Pengze looked at the young demonic cultivator walking over slowly. His eyes narrowed slightly as he heaved a sigh of relief. If it was Zilong, Ziyong, or the others who had returned, he might be a little afraid. However, it was just a young demonic cultivator with a low cultivation. Not only was he not afraid, but he was also very glad. The light demonic cultivator was Zhuowen, who had returned after leaving. When the peerless Thunder God formation was wreaking havoc, everyone's attention was focused on the Black Law and neglected Fei Pengze. Later, the black egg that Fei Pengze was in disappeared into thin air. Everyone subconsciously thought that Fei Pengze had vanished into thin air within the formation. But none of this escaped Zhuowen's eyes. He had been paying attention to Fei Pengze for a long time, including his disappearance. His intuition told him that Fei Pengze's black god was definitely not as simple as it seemed. That was why he had used his argument with Zilong as an excuse to leave. And not long after he left, he quietly returned and waited for an opportunity near the divine ship. Sure enough, his guess was right. Fei Pengze was still alive. This black god ship is really incredible. It can actually blend into the darkness. Even if it's a starlight expert, if they don't observe carefully, they may not be able to detect the black god ship in the darkness. Wen's gaze landed on the black god ship. There was a trace of surprise and passion in his eyes. Black the divine ship was definitely the most unique and powerful divine ship he had ever seen. Such a divine ship was enough to match all the divine ships he had stored in the macro world. Fei Pengze narrowed his eyes and sneered. What? You're still coveting my black god, but that's just wishful thinking. But Zhuowen was indifferent and said coolly, very soon, the black god will be mine. Do I still need to covet it? To me, it's just something that I can easily obtain. Humph. You're just looking for death. You're just trash at the peak of the Qian Kuan tribulation. Without the help of the formation, how can you be my opponent? Just die. Fei Pengze roared. Pengze was furious. He was an expert at the mid-cosmic Dharma stage. He was several levels higher than Zhuowen. Now, he was being looked down upon by Zhuowen. Naturally, he was extremely unhappy. He decisively took out his cosmic Dharma and launched a thunderous attack at Zhuowen. However, the moment Fei Pengze swept out, he immediately discovered that countless strange formation patterns had appeared around him. The dense array patterns were like slithering snakes, wrapping around him like a huge python that was about to strangle its prey. Formation? When did you set it up? Fei Pengze asked. Pengze's limbs were all bound by the formation patterns. He looked at the young demonic cultivator in front of him in horror. Only the young demonic cultivator gently stretched out his right hand. There was a flash of lightning in his palm, and the formation patterns were surging out from it. While you were talking nonsense, I had already finished setting up my attack array. I've been waiting for you to make a move. Unfortunately, you've been talking too much. I'm getting a little impatient. Zhuo smiled. Wen grinned. He had the Thunder Origin Formation Diagram and was a divine array master at the third heaven of the Eternal Realm. Therefore, he only needed half a breath to set up the early stage third heaven of the Eternal Realm. Impossible. How long has it been? And this is an attack formation at the third heaven of the Eternal Realm. Even if you're a divine array master at the third heaven of the Eternal Realm, it's impossible to set up such a formation in such a short time. Fei Pengze's face was full of disbelief. He almost screamed out loud. Then you can ask on your way to the underworld. Zhuowen's tone was calm. He clenched his right hand into a fist and exerted a little force. Fei Pengze's eyes suddenly bulged. He could clearly feel the power of the formation patterns around his body multiplying in an instant. while he could only watch helplessly as his body was continuously squeezed and crushed by the runes until he finally lost all consciousness. Zhuowen looked expressionlessly at Fei Pengze, who was being crushed by the formation. With a wave of his sleeve, he put away the formation around him. He was more and more satisfied with the Thunder Origin formation diagram. Now, he only needed half a breath to set up the early stage third heaven of the Eternal Realm. Namely, even the early stage third heaven of the Eternal Realm only needed 10 breaths. Until early stage and early stage third heaven of the Eternal Realm might take a lot of time. Zhuowen slowly came to the side of the black egg and gently placed his right palm on its surface. He could clearly feel the aura left by Fei Pengze gradually disappearing. He carefully examined it and found that the black god was still damaged to a certain extent, but it was not particularly serious and did not affect its important functions. Zhuowen put the black god into the macro world. He handed it to Xiao He and asked him to repair it. Only yes, to Zhuowen's speechlessness, Xiao He's first reaction when he saw the black god was to eat it. He, the sacred fire in the God was extremely tempting to Xiao He. For this reason, he kept whispering in Zhuowen's ear, which made Zhuowen very annoyed. If Zhuowen didn't value the role of the black god, he really intended to give it to Xiao He to devour, but not now. Little seeing Zhuowen so insistent, He no longer pestered him and agreed to repair the black god. After receiving the black god, Zhuowen found the figures of Lei Jia and Lei Yu. The two of them passed through the air and headed for the inner city. While Zhuowen came to Zhuowen under Zhuowen's notice. Jiu Yuan, are your grandmother and your great-grandfather going to the inner city to help? Zhuowen asked calmly. Jiu Yuan smiled bitterly and said, Yes, my grandmother has a very good relationship with the great saintess Zi Yuan. This time, the great saintess asked her, so she didn't refuse. Master, you won't be unhappy, right? After all, the peerless thunder god array is your. Jiyuan secretly glanced at Zhuowen and spoke very carefully, for fear of angering Zhuowen. Chapter 4370. The Peerless Thunder God formation was originally arranged by me for your Thunder Array clan. It is your Thunder Array clan's thing. I have no right to ask how you use it. Since this is Senior Lei Jia's decision, I won't say anything. Zhuowen smiled, without blaming him, and continued, Jiu Yuan, come with me, and we will arrange another Peerless Thunder God formation together. Are you going to? The Jiu Yuan was surprised. Looking at the young demonic cultivator in front of him, he didn't know what the latter was selling. But he didn't refuse. He now has blind worship for Zhuowen, and he basically won't refuse the latter's request. Boom boom. The battle in the inner city of Sacred Jade City became more and more terrifying. Starlight shone, as if the end of the world had come. But wherever the starlight passed, the buildings in the inner city were all turned into decadent ruins. This Ziqiong is really difficult to deal with. Her strength is not weaker than mine, and the city protection array of this inner city has a bonus effect on her. Luo Ye was suspended in the void, and behind her, a huge celestial giant was holding up the starlight world. Her pair of beautiful eyes stared solemnly at the woman who was also suspended in the air in front of her. The woman was dressed in a purple robe, with waist-length purple hair, wearing a crown of hazy starlight, and a pair of starry eyes, mysterious and dazzling like two stars. Her appearance was not outstanding, but it was extremely pleasant to look at, and after looking at it for a long time, it gave people a strange feeling of holiness. There is no doubt that she is a woman with a very good taste. She is Ziqiong, one of the two female supremes of the Zishuan clan. She is also at the middle stage of the inverse ancient starlight stage. Blackfa's eyes were gloomy, and there was still congealed blood hanging from the corner of his mouth. His face was pale and bloodless. He had been seriously injured in the Peerless Thunder God formation, and now he is facing Ziqiong, who is stronger than him. Naturally, he is not feeling good. Black Fa, don't you know the specific location of the sacred fire source? I will hold Ziqiong. You go and take out the sacred fire source. Luo Ya's beautiful eyes were serious, and she said to Black Fa. Black Fa looked at Ziqiong opposite him and said, "Then you be careful." After that, Black Fa bypassed Ziqiong and swept towards the depths of the inner city. Ziqiong saw Black Fa's action, and immediately knew the intention of the latter. Her beautiful eyes were cold, and she swept Black Fa as fast as lightning. However, Ziqiong was blocked by Luo Ya the moment she shot out. "Ziqiong's your opponent, don't get the wrong persons." Ya smiled charmingly, but her movements were extremely ruthless, firmly entangling Ziqiong. "Luo Ya, don't go. Isn't your Luotian clan afraid that those lords of the transcendent world will blame you?" Ziqiong was flustered and exasperated. Her cultivation was similar to Luo Ya's. Although she had the advantage with the help of the Great City Barrier formation, it was not an overwhelming advantage. Luo Ya wanted to stop her, but she couldn't get away for a while. "Ziqiong, don't think that I don't know that the Zixian clan's rise to power is based on the fact that you're using women as bargaining chips in exchange for the support of the Supreme Domain Lords. But in reality, that's just fake news that you're deliberately misleading us. The reason why you can obtain the support of those Supreme Domain Lords is because you have the Sacred Fire Source. As long as our Luo Shen clan obtains the Sacred Fire Source, your Zixian clan will have no value in cooperating with us. Those Supreme Domain Lords will naturally cooperate with our Luo Shen clan. At that time, do you think those Supreme Domain Lords will have nothing better to do than to deal with our Luo Shen clan? After all, to them, it doesn't matter which clan they cooperate with. As long as their benefits aren't harmed, they won't reject our Luo Shen clan." Luo Ya's lips curled up. Her hands shot out like lightning, and terrifying attacks landed on Ziqiong mercilessly, doing her best to obstruct Ziqiong's advance. Ziqiong was enraged. She used all her abilities, but she was still unable to break free from Luo Ya's control. She could only watch as Black Fa entered the depths of the inner city. When Black Fa rushed into a palace in the depths of the inner city, the holy maiden Ziyuan led the other 3 holy maidens and blocked Black Fa's path. "The 4 of you still want to block me? Are you courting death?" Black Fa narrowed his eyes, coldness and impatience could be seen in his eyes. "The sacred fire source is the foundation of our Zixian clan. We will protect it even if we die." The holy maiden Ziyuan stood out. Her eyes were filled with determination. Ziqiong, Xian, Ziyong, and Zilian's beautiful eyes flickered. There was fear in their eyes. Ziqiong. They were just heavily injured by Black Fa and almost died in his hands. Now that they had to face him again, they couldn't help but feel helpless. If it wasn't for the holy maiden's orders, they would have fled long ago. Black Fa didn't waste time talking nonsense with the holy maiden and the others. He knew that time was of the essence now. He couldn't waste any more time with these holy maidens. "Scram!" Black Fa roared. He instantly took out his heaven-defying ancient constellation and stepped out. Dense astral light revolved around him, causing him to be like a heavenly god descending to the mortal world, exuding an extraordinary might. Holy Maiden Ziyuan wasn't afraid at all. She was already half a step into the heaven-defying ancient starlight realm, and her strength was the strongest among the 5 holy maidens. She believed that if she joined forces with the other 3 holy maidens, they should be able to stop Black Fa for a while. However, the moment Ziyuan attacked, she immediately sensed that something was wrong. She realized that Zixian, Ziyong, and Zilian didn't attack. She couldn't help but look behind her, only to find that the 3 of them had all fallen to the ground. Behind the 3 of them stood a graceful young woman. "Zilong? What did you do?" The moment Zi Yuan saw the young woman, her expression changed. She said with a gloomy face, "Humph! I only gave the 3 of them the god's corpse powder. At most, they will be unconscious for 3 days and 3 nights, and this period of time is enough for the 3 of them to die in the hands of this person. You will also die in his hands, and I will become the only holy maiden of the Zi Xian clan. As long as you are all dead, you won't be able to tell the holy maiden, and I won't be punished. So, holy maiden, it's better for you to die and fulfill my wish." Zi Long's eyes were red, and she had fallen into some kind of madness. She knew very well that Zi Xin and the other 2 must have already complained to the holy maiden, Zi Yuan, and must have pushed all the blame onto her. None regardless of whether the Zi Xian clan could withstand the enemy's attack this time, she would be punished, and it would be a serious crime. As long as the holy maiden and the others were all dead, no one would report her to the holy maiden, and she would become the only holy maiden. From then on, her power would dominate the court, and her status would be unshakable. "Zi Long, you lunatic, I'm going to clean up the clan today." Zi Yuan was so angry that her chest heaved violently. She really didn't expect Zi Long to ignore the overall situation. Just for her own selfish reasons, she would disregard the safety of the clan and kill them to silence them. Only yes, when Zi Yuan was about to teach Zi Long a lesson, Zi Long was already prepared and retreated. At the same time, Black Fa's attack had arrived, forcing Zi Yuan to turn around and deal with the aggressive Black Fa. Chapter 43-71. Fa watched coldly. He looked at Zi Long strangely. He really didn't expect Zi Long to be so smart. She actually took the initiative to attack her own people. Your Zishuan clan is really declining. Even the chosen saintess is such a scum. The divine fire source is completely buried in your hands. You might as well give it to us. Fa's mouth curved into a mocking smile. He seized the opportunity and rushed toward Zi Yuan, not giving her any chance to breathe at all. As for Zi Long, Fa didn't care at all. She was such a scum who could betray her own clan. He couldn't wait to have more of her. How could he bear to kill her? Zi Long took one last look at Zi Yuan, who was vomiting blood after being beaten by Fa. She didn't dare to stay any longer and quietly left this place. Crack! 10 After a few breaths, Zi Yuan's cosmic image completely collapsed, and the crisp sound of shattering resounded in the surroundings. Among the countless fragments and light spots of the cosmic form, Zi Yuan fell from the sky like an angel with broken wings. She was in a sorry state. Bang! Zi Yuan smashed a huge hole in the ground. Countless smoke and dust dissipated, and the surrounding vision became completely gray. Fa floated in the air. He didn't continue to attack. Instead, he rushed toward the palace where the divine fire source was hidden. Zi Yuan was seriously injured and was no longer a threat. He was pressed for time, so he naturally wouldn't waste any more time on Zi Yuan. Wait, it wouldn't be too late to kill Zi Yuan after he took out the divine fire source. At not long after Fa entered the deepest palace, 2 more figures rushed in from outside the inner city. The 2 figures were careful not to get close to the battle between Zi Qiong and Luoya. Instead, they circled around and finally came to the front of the deepest palace. These 2 figures were an old woman with white hair and an old man. They were Lei Jia and Lei Yu, who had received the request of the saintess. "Saintess, are you okay?" Lei Jia quickly found the saintess, Zi Yuan, who was deeply injured in the pit not far away. She quickly ran over and helped her up. Cough, cough. Zi Yuan coughed continuously, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. Her face was as pale as snow. Lei Jia, he is too strong. He is an expert at the early stage of the Ni ancient starlight realm. You should leave quickly. When he comes out, you won't be able to leave. Great saintess, I've brought the peerless lightning god Array. His name is Fa. Earlier, he was trapped in the peerless divine lightning formation and almost died. If it wasn't for Luo Ye coming to save him, he would already be a corpse. Lei Jia said in a deep voice. A hopeful look appeared in Yuan's eyes. If the unparalleled Thunder Divine Matrix was really so powerful, perhaps Lei Jia and the others could really stop He Fa. However, the real person who set up the unparalleled Thunder God Array is someone else. His name is Mo1. If he is in charge, black magic will definitely be trapped. If we are in charge, the power of the array will be greatly reduced. Jia's eyes dimmed. Although she really wanted to ask for Zhuowen's help, Zilong had gone overboard. They did not have the face to ask for Zhuowen's help. Then please ask fellow Taoist Mo1 to help preside. Our Zishuan clan will definitely not treat him unfairly after this. Ziyuan hurriedly said. He is the demonic cultivator wanted by the third saintess. He is also the one who revealed the news of the attack to us. Unfortunately, the third saintess drove him away in anger. Jia angrily recounted everything that had happened near the divine worship, including how Zilong had despised and even forced Zhuowen to do so. Purple Yuan's face darkened and she almost cursed. Zilong was completely a hindrance to the Zishuan clan. She even wanted to kill the other 4 saintesses, including her, for her own selfish reasons. Ziyuan took a deep breath and tried to calm herself down. She said, Lei Jia, Lei Yu, I beg you to help us this time. After this, I will definitely give you and Mo1 justice. Zilong will not be able to escape the punishment of the clan's rules. I will not tolerate it. Lei Jia and Lei Yu were overjoyed. They had been unhappy with Zilong for a long time and were waiting for Ziyuan to say this. They set up a shielding formation nearby in advance, and then placed the great saintess and the other 3 saintesses who were in a coma inside. My father and I will set up the Peerless Thunder God Array. As soon as He Fa comes out, we will activate the Peerless Thunder God Array to take him down. After Jia finished speaking, she walked outside the palace with Lei Yu. The 2 of them took out a disc array and made a complicated seal. According to the memory of the Peerless Thunder God Array in their minds, they constantly arranged and combined the dense array patterns that swept out of the disc array. Because the Peerless Thunder God Array was already formed in the disc array, it didn't take long for the 2 of them to set it up. In a quarter of an hour, the Peerless Thunder God Array was completely set up. Lei Yu put away his sleeve, and the Peerless Thunder God Array stopped, and a formation flag appeared in his hand. After doing this, Lei Jia and Lei Yu quietly came to the nearby shielding formation and silently observed the movements in the depths of the palace. 2 hours later, a black shadow swept out of the palace. Black Ink's body exuded a blazing red light. The moment he came out, a terrifying wave of air hit like an explosion and instantly spread throughout the entire Zishuan sacred city. It's the sacred fire source. Inside the shielding formation, the great saintess Ziyuan saw the fiery red sacred fire source in the black shadow's hand at a glance. The terrifying heat and blazing red light were emitted from this sacred fire source. He Fa's right hand condensed most of the Nigu star's divine power, but his palm was still about to melt under the terrifying heat of the sacred fire source. And this was only a small part of the energy that was accidentally leaked by the sacred fire source. It's worthy of being the source of the sacred fire source. The energy that escapes can cause such great damage to me. He Fa completely ignored his right palm that was about to melt, and his eyes were full of excitement. With this sacred fire source, he would become an immortal figure in the history of the Black Scale Clan. He would become the most immortal existence in the history of the Black Scale Clan. He would create miracles. Suddenly, a strong sense of crisis rose in He Fa's mind. Suddenly, endless purple lightning surged in front of his eyes, sweeping over like an avalanche. Bang! He Fa was caught off guard, and he was blasted flying by the terrifying purple lightning wave. He barely managed to stabilize his body, but he discovered that he was already enveloped by the dense purple lightning, and he was trapped within it like a prisoner imprisoned in the violet lightning prison. Damn it, it's this formation again. Fei's eyes revealed a look of horror. Just now, he almost died in this peerless lightning god formation. Boom, boom, boom. The purple lightning seemed to have a consciousness and rushed toward Fei. They drew a strange trajectory in the air, blocking all of Fei's escape routes. Black Fei protected the sacred fire source while avoiding the purple lightning around him. The Nigu star form he summoned was constantly helping him block a part of the purple lightning that he couldn't avoid. Soon, he was shocked to find that the peerless lightning god formation this time was much weaker than last time. At least these purple lightning didn't make him breathless and exhausted. Chapter 43-72. Without Nephew Mo when presiding over it, the peerless thunder god array is indeed much weaker. Let's not hold back any more and summon the thunder god. Lei Yu glanced at Lei Jia and changed the seal in his hand. Only the purple lightning of the peerless lightning god formation suddenly stopped. Then, they all gathered towards the center. In the end, they turned into a heart made purely of purple lightning. The heart kept beating, absorbing more and more purple lightning. It began to form flesh, bones, limbs, meridians, and so on, evolving into a mighty thunder god. Black Fa was very familiar with this scene. He had almost died under this strange thunder god form, but the current thunder god was much weaker than the first time. Although it was still very strong, it was not enough to put his life in danger. Sure enough, when the thunder god was formed, it was only evenly matched with Black Fa. It was unable to suppress him at all. Black Fa heaved a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that the condensed thunder god would be the same as the last time. If that happened, he would really be dead. Fortunately, this array is not strong, so I have time to use this talisman. While resisting the thunder god's attack, Fa quietly took out a grayish-white talisman. This talisman was given to him by Luoya just now. It could spiritualize a part of his body and pass through the array. Originally, Black Fa planned to use this talisman to pass through the inner city's great defensive array after obtaining the sacred fire source. He did not expect to use it in advance. But he was not in a hurry. As long as he met up with Luoya, he could rely on her secret technique to leave the great defensive array. Only this talisman required a certain amount of time to activate. If the thunder god was still as strong as before, he would not have time to use it. But now there was no such worry. Black Fa took out the talisman and formed a seal with his right hand. His left hand controlled the ancient constellation to resist the thunder god's attack. After 10 breaths of time, the grayish-white talisman spontaneously burned into ashes. The dense ashes covered Black Fa's body, causing it to gradually become transparent. When Black Fa's body completely spiritualized, he quickly rushed towards the edge of the array. Luoya was already urging him. He could not waste any more time here. Black Fa rushed out of the peerless thunder god array unimpeded. He did not even have time to look for Lei Jia and Lei Yu who were setting up the array. He went straight to Luoya. At this moment, Luoya was in an extremely wretched state as blood seeped out from the corner of her mouth. She dodged Ziqiong's ferocious attacks as she urged Black Mage to attack. Ziqiong was also extremely anxious. She had naturally sensed the terrifying wave of fire just now and knew that black magic had succeeded in obtaining the divine flame source. Let's go. Fa came to Ziqiong's side and said in a deep voice. Luoya didn't dare to be negligent. She grabbed Fa's arm, and the two of them instantly entered spirit form. They quickly rushed out of the inner city. Where do you think you're going? Shocked and infuriated, Jade chased after Ji Hao and activated all the power of the defensive magic formation. The city protecting grand array of the city was, after all, a grand array of the third heavens of the eternal realm. Its power was extremely terrifying. At first, she was worried that her clansmen were still inside the city, so she didn't fully exert the power of the grand array. Now that the inner city was empty, she no longer had any worries. Terrifying attacks were unleashed from every corner of the inner city. Then, they rained down like meteors, filling the entire space. The magnificent buildings, streets, and roads in the inner city were instantly turned into ruins. However, the Grand Array's terrifying attacks had no effect on Luo Ye and black magic. Instead, they passed through their bodies as if they were hitting air. Ziqiang Jade gritted her teeth and hurriedly chased after them. She didn't believe that Luo Ye could maintain her spirit form forever. After leaving the Grand Array, Ye came into contact with spirit form. This secret technique was too much of a burden on her. She didn't dare to keep running in spirit form. The three of them, one chasing and one fleeing, quickly disappeared from Zixian Sacred City. That's right, no one noticed that outside Zixian Saint City, in a dark corner, a black divine ship blended into the night and quietly followed them. This great escape didn't last long. 2 hours later, in the sky above a great plain tens of billions of kilometers northwest of Zixian Sacred City, original Luo Ye and black magic, who were fleeing in a sorry state, suddenly stopped. They hovered in the air and turned to coldly look at Ziqiang, who was chasing after them. Ziqiang also stopped, keeping a distance of 1,000 meters from the two. Hand over the sacred fire source. It's not something you can take. Ziqiang didn't rush forward. She felt that there must be something wrong with Luo Ye and black magic's sudden stop. Ziqiang, don't you think that your Zixian Sacred City has been sitting at the top of the higher realms for too long? All these years, the other 15 higher realms have been suppressed by your Zixian Sacred City to the point of being unable to breathe. Every dog has its day. It's time for your Zixian Sacred City to step down and let the other higher realms take over. Luo Ye said indifferently. What do you want to do? I've already informed the other lords of this matter. Very soon, Ziyang and another lord will descend to the Purple Jade Sacred City. At that time, your Luotian clan and Black Scale clan will be severely punished. Ziqiang coldly spoke. If it's only our 2 higher realms that participate, perhaps we really will be sanctioned. But what if the other higher realms participate as well? Will those lords of the supreme realms punish a dozen higher realms? As the saying goes, the law can't punish the majority. Don't you think so? Luo Ye's lips curled into a proud smile. Ziqiang's heart trembled. Her expression changed greatly. Don't tell me you. Before Ziqiang finished speaking, a terrifying crater appeared on the ground of the Great Plains. Waves of defying ancient starlight aura appeared on the Great Plains like a rapidly rising sun. In the blink of an eye, 11 figures appeared in the sky above the Great Plains. All of them were defying ancient starlight experts. Jade Feather Clan's Lin Yu, Blue Qian Clan's Lan Dao, Nuwa Clan's Huang Ju. Ziqiang saw these figures and found that they were all rulers of the various higher realms. Her heart sank. Apart from the Grand Sovereign of the Shi-Ran clan, which was ranked last among the higher realms, all the Grand Sovereigns of the other 13 higher realms had come. A total of 13 defying ancient starlight experts. Among them, there were several mid-stage defying ancient starlight experts like Ziqiang. Ziqiang couldn't contend with such a lineup. You actually join forces? There's only one sacred fire source. Even if you get it, how will you divide it? Why don't you help me capture Luo Ye and Heifa? The lords of the supreme realms will definitely reward you handsomely. There's no risk. Isn't that perfect? Ziqiang forced herself to be calm and tried to divide the 13 people. Haha. Ziqiang, your plan to sow discord is useless. We've been planning this for many years. We've already come up with a plan that everyone can accept. Each of our clans has the right to use the sacred fire source for 100 years. We'll take turns. This way we can achieve true fairness and harmonious development. Even if the lords of the Supreme Realms come in person, I'm afraid they won't completely stand on the side of the Zixian clan. After all, there's no difference whether the sacred fire source is in our hands or in the hands of the Zixian clan. The Grand Sovereign of the Nuwa clan, Huang Ju, laughed and spoke first. His words were full of sarcasm. Chapter 43-73. Ziqiang's face turned pale, and her heart sank. Tenshi was only at the middle stage of the defying ancient starlight realm. How could she resist the joint attack of 3 high-level domains? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. While Ziqiang was still in a daze, 13 defying ancient starlight powerhouses surrounded her in a ring. Their surging divine power swept over like sharp blades, causing Ziqiang to feel a chill all over her body. Luoya and Hei Fa stood at the forefront, looking at the shocked and angry Ziqiang with sarcastic eyes. Also, what goes around comes around. Just now, Ziqiang had chased them like stray dogs, but now the situation was reversed. You have already obtained the sacred fire source. That's enough. Are you going to kill me to silence me? Ziqiang said in a trembling voice. At knowing that all the high-level domains had joined forces, she knew that she couldn't get the sacred fire source back. Even if female Supreme Ziyang came with the superiors of the super domains, it would be difficult for them. There were a total of 15 high-level domains outside the 100 domains. Now that 13 high-level domains had joined forces, this force was extremely huge. The superiors of the superdomains wouldn't fall out with so many high-level domains just to protect the Zixian domain. Every year, the superdomains had to collect extremely objective resources from these high-level domains, which was also one of their main sources of income. Now Ziqiang's only thought was to escape. Since things had become a foregone conclusion, it was useless for her to work hard. Now her only thought was to survive. Ziqiang, that won't do. Your Zixian clan is still too strong. 2 defying ancient starlight powerhouses are enough to make many of our high-level domains fearful. As long as your Zixian clan only has 1 defying ancient starlight powerhouse, it will be the best. Huang Ju of the Nuwa clan said slowly. His voice wasn't loud, but it was full of malice. Ziqiang's heart tightened. Seeing the terrifying killing intent in the eyes of everyone around her, she knew that these people weren't going to let her go. She quietly took out a talisman. The moment she was about to use it, a golden light flashed in front of her eyes and took away the talisman she took out. Ziqiang, don't even think about leaving today. For the Zixian clan, you'd better sacrifice yourself. Ju waved his right hand, and the strange golden light appeared in his palm. Ziqiang's talisman also appeared in Huang Ju's hand. Huang Ju was very cautious. After surrounding Ziqiang, he kept a close eye on her movement. Naturally, he wouldn't give her any chance to escape. Attack! Luo Ya's beautiful eyes gleamed with a cold light as she roared. The 13 experts from the star-defying ancient constellation no longer wasted time. All of them took out their respective star-defying ancient constellations and attacked Ziqiang with all their might. Joan's shrill screams reverberated between heaven and earth. She struggled to hold on, but her injuries were getting worse and worse. She was like a dying fish. In the darkness several thousand kilometers away from this terrifying battle, Zhuowen stood on the deck of the Black God ship, silently observing this overwhelming battle. It wasn't accurate to call it a great battle. This was simply a massacre. This female Supreme Ziqiang is dead for sure. I just don't know how I'll get the sacred fire source from Luo Ya's hands. Zhuowen muttered to himself. After Luo Ya and Hei Fa successfully left the sacred city of Purple Jade, Zhuowen knew that the 2 of them had succeeded. That was why he steered the Black God ship behind them. Only what he didn't expect was that there were so many experts from the star-defying ancient constellation participating in this plan. Namely, Even though Zhuowen was skilled and bold, he was still frightened. His original plan was to wait until Ziqiong, Luoye, and He Fa were all injured, then he could sit back and reap the benefit. Now he knew that this plan wouldn't work. But he was unwilling to leave just like that. After seeing the magical effect of the sacred fire source that could give birth to the sacred fire source must be an extremely extraordinary object. And he was sure that this thing should be of great benefit to Xiao He. Divine. If the sacred fire source could be refined by Xiao He, perhaps Xiao He could evolve again, which would be of great help to his strength. Wait patiently. Zhuowen's eyes flickered, but in the end, he still patiently waited silently. Far away the battle didn't last long. Ziqiong was alone. Even if he used all his skills, it was impossible for him to be a match for so many experts from the star-defying ancient constellation. In the end, under the joint force of the 13 star-defying ancient constellation, Ziqiong's body and soul were destroyed. In the end, he only let out a cry of despair and unwillingness. After killing Ziqiong, Luoye, Huangju, and the others all breathed a sigh of relief. Then, their eyes fell on He Fa. Feeling so many gazes, He Fa was quite nervous. He laughed dryly and said, "Everyone, don't look at me like that. The sacred fire source is on me. I won't lose it." With that, He Fa took out the sacred fire source. A blazing and spiritual fiery red light bloomed, exuding an extremely terrifying temperature. In the blink of an eye, the surrounding was filled with high temperature, as if it had turned into an unbearable huge furnace. Everyone's eyes were focused on He Fa's palm. Only a flame the size of a palm slowly appeared in his palm. Fire the flame slowly jumped like a stream of flames, flickering with extraordinary fluctuations. "It is indeed the sacred fire source," Luoye said. Luoye, Huangju, and the others all nodded. Although they had never seen the real sacred fire source, the strong spirituality and powerful aura emitted by this flame made no one doubt that it was a fake. Since we have confirmed that this is the real sacred fire source, next we should discuss the distribution of this sacred fire source, right? Lan Dao of the Blue Qian clan said with a smile. Everyone fell into silence. Huangju was the first to speak. According to our previous discussion, this time the sacred fire source was successfully stolen mainly because of Luoye and He Fa. The two of them have the first right to use it. The first 200 years of use will be divided between the two of them. As for the remaining 11 clans, we will jointly hold a competition between the younger generation. The corresponding order of use will be divided according to the ranking of the battle results. Lan Dao, Lin Yu, and the others all nodded secretly. This was the plan they had agreed on, and they had made a heavenly oath in advance. Therefore, they were not afraid that Huangju and the others would do anything to it. He Fa quietly breathed a sigh of relief. His strength could only be considered to be at the bottom of the 13 people, so he did not have the right to speak. He was given this opportunity mainly because he had planted the most informants in Zixian Holy City and had the most connections. In addition, his ability was more special, so he had the opportunity to participate. Otherwise, such a good thing would not have happened to him. Chapter 4374. He Fa, your contribution is the greatest. If you want to be the first to use the sacred fire source, I will give this opportunity to you. Luoye came in front of He Fa and smiled faintly. He Fa waved his hand and said humbly, "You are too kind, fellow Taoist Luoye. You contributed the most this time. If it weren't for you, I would have fallen in Zixian Holy City. Naturally, the sacred fire source will be used by you first." He Fa thought that Luoye would agree, but he didn't expect Luoye to keep a straight face and shake her head. He Fa, I, Luoye, am not a greedy person. Can't I see who contributed the most this time? I only contributed a little, but not only did you contribute, but you also contributed a lot of people and materials. You spent a lot of effort. You can use the sacred fire source first. Heife was stunned. He took a deep look at Luoya and saw that she didn't seem to be polite. Finally, he nodded. Keep the sacred fire source. This is a matter of great importance. Don't lose it, Luoya reminded. Heife carefully put the sacred fire source into the storage space divine tool and said seriously, Fellow Taoist Luoya, don't worry. This thing is more precious than my life. I will never lose it. Everyone, I have decided to let the Black Scale clan use the sacred fire source for 100 years. Now let fellow Taoist Heife leave first. We will leave in an hour, Luoya suddenly said loudly. Heife, the other experts who were still discussing, quieted down. They glanced at Luoya and then looked at Heife. Although they were surprised, they didn't take it to heart. Although some people were dissatisfied with Luoya's request to wait for an hour, they could understand that Luoya was preventing them from following Heife with ulterior motives and taking the sacred fire source for themselves. Everyone, we will meet again, Heife said. Heife first bowed to Luoya, then cupped his hands to everyone. Without looking back, he flew towards the western horizon and quickly disappeared into the depths of the darkness. Luoya, Huangju, and the others waited for an hour before leaving one after another. However, what they didn't notice was that in the instant Heife left, there was an indiscernible shadow that silently followed Heife. In the shadows, Zhuowen stood on the deck, his eyes shining with excitement. At this moment, he was still thinking about how to obtain the divine fire source, but at this moment, Heife, Luoya, and the others gave him such a big surprise. Zhuowen followed closely behind Heife. The latter was very cautious. After leaving a certain distance, he would hide and observe the surroundings. After confirming that there were no mistakes, he would move forward cautiously again. While furthermore, Heife did not follow the fixed route back to the Black Scale domain. Instead, he deliberately took many detours. Why is it this unparalleled lightning god formation again? Are there no other new tricks? Am I going to fight with the unparalleled lightning god formation today? Thump, thump. Heife quickly discovered in shock that this unparalleled lightning god formation was much stronger than Lei Jia's and Lei Yu's. It was completely comparable to the unparalleled lightning god formation that had almost killed him the first time. While his inverse ancient celestial body was barely able to resist the purple lightning. It was even completely at a disadvantage. Clang! After the endless purple lightning began to condense into that strange heart, Heife was completely terrified. He knew that when the real lightning god appeared, he would no longer be a match for it. This time, he wasn't as lucky as last time. Luoya had come to save him, and he had already used the talisman that Luoya had given him last time. Zhuowen stood on the deck of the Black God ship and silently watched as the lightning god continued to condense. He watched as Heife was suppressed by the lightning god until he was covered in injuries. In the end, he watched as Heife let out an unwilling roar. Under the lightning god's fist, his flesh and blood flew and his soul was destroyed. After confirming Heifei's death, Zhuowen didn't immediately remove the unparalleled lightning god formation. Instead, he took the formation flag and entered the formation to personally check on Heifei's situation. He was very clear that the methods of these inverse ancient celestial body cultivators were much stranger than the cosmic Dharma manifestation cultivators. He couldn't guarantee that Heife didn't have other tricks up his sleeve. It was always better to be cautious. Heifei's Dharma body had already been destroyed, leaving only a necklace-like storage artifact. Zhuowen picked up the necklace that had been thrown on the ground. This necklace was suffused with a sparkling silver light, as if it had a spirit. It was swallowing and emitting an extraordinary spirit. Item there was a rather powerful restriction on the surface of the chain. When Zhuowen's consciousness probed into the necklace, he immediately encountered an obstruction. Hey Fa isn't dead yet? The moment his consciousness encountered an obstruction, Zhuowen immediately realized that something was wrong. The restriction on the storage artifact was connected to the owner's soul. If the owner died, the restriction on the storage artifact would naturally collapse. However, Zhuowen encountered an obstruction on the necklace. Obviously, Hey Fa's soul hadn't completely dissipated. At the moment when Zhuowen felt that something was wrong, the necklace in his hand suddenly circulated with a golden light. This golden light shot out like an arrow from a bow and fiercely drilled into the depths of Zhuowen's forehead. Chapter 4375. When the golden light completely entered the space between Zhuowen's eyebrows, Zhuowen felt an intense pain spread through his mind. It was as if an awl was ruthlessly pounding his temples. It was extremely painful. Possession, when held his temples, but his eyes were extremely cold. He immediately realized Hey Fa's intention. However, he did not panic. The primordial stone was in the depths of his soul, and the primordial technique he cultivated was even more extraordinary. That is, even if Hey Fa's cultivation was higher than his and his soul was stronger than his, wanting to possess him was probably courting death. Sure enough, not long after, Zhuowen heard Hey Fa's mournful screams in the depths of his soul. What is this thing? How can it have such a mysterious and unfathomable power? No. Save me. Hey Fa's voice was hoarse. Hey Fa's voice became more and more hurried and terrified. Finally, it gradually disappeared without a trace. At the same time, the intense pain in the depths of Zhuowen's soul was also alleviated, and his entire body gradually relaxed. He knew that the remnant of Hey Fa's soul was completely finished. At the same time, after Hey Fa had completely fallen, the restriction on the surface of the necklace in Zhuowen's hand finally disappeared. Zhuowen's divine sense swept around inside and discovered many precious resources. Most importantly, he saw his target in the deepest part of the necklace, the sacred fire source. At the same time, after that, Zhuowen steered the black god and quietly left this place. At the same time, the aftermath of his battle with Hey Fa was not small. It must have attracted the attention of many experts nearby. Naturally, it was not good to stay here for long. Just in case, Zhuowen did not swagger back to Zixian Holy City. Instead, he hid in the depths of a secluded mountain range and waited for the curtain of night to fall. At the same time, in the darkness, the black god was the most useful. Moreover, his whereabouts were also the least likely to be exposed. At the same time, while waiting for the curtain of night to fall, Zhuowen entered the outside world. He handed the sacred fire source to Xiao He and began to organize the various resources and treasures in Hey Fa's storage artifact. This sacred fire source had unimaginable benefits for weapon cultivators. This thing was very magical. It could allow all weapons to undergo an unimaginable evolution in a short period of time. With this sacred fire source, I can break through to the third heavenly layer of eternal realm in a short time. Inside the world, Xiao He looked greedily at the divine fire source floating in front of him, and his voice became extremely excited. During this period of time, Xiao He had often brought up the matter of the sacred fire seed in front of Zhuowen. Chapter 4376. Next, Zhuowen met with Shan Lingyun, Duan Jipeng, Jiyuan and others in the outside world. After a while, he learned that Ziyu, who was a hostage, was in good condition, and he was relieved. Ziyu is still of great use to him, so he naturally can't let anything happen to her. Dang after nightfall, Zhuowen quietly took out the black god, merged into the deep darkness, and quietly headed for the sacred city of Zhixian. This place is not particularly far from the sacred city of Zhixian. Before dawn, Zhuowen successfully arrived in the sacred city of Zhixian. Distance very close to the divine ship, Zhuowen plans to stay in the sacred city of Zhixian for the next few days, waiting for the divine ship to set sail. At the invitation of Zhu Yuan, Zhuowen went to the Thunder Array clan. After returning to the Thunder Array clan, they learned that Lei Jia, Lei Yu and Chen Yin were not there. It was said that they were all summoned to the inner city. Huh? Ziyang female venerable is back? After learning the news from the servants of the Thunder Array clan, Zhu Yuan was quite surprised. Ziyang female venerable is more mysterious than Ziqiong female venerable. She is also the most powerful female venerable of the Zhixian clan. It is said that she is already in the late stage of the anti-ancient starlight stage. This strength is also at the top of the 15 higher realms. Since ancient times, there has been no existence in the higher realms of the anti-ancient starlight stage. This is not to say that the higher realms cannot produce anti-ancient starlight stage cultivators, but cultivators at this level will be recruited by the major forces of the super realms. The limitations of the higher realms are too great. If the anti-ancient starlight stage cultivators want to continue to climb up, they can only go to the super realms. And these powerhouses who go to the super realms rarely return to the higher realms. Many of them even leave their original clans and completely join the forces of the super realms and become the subordinates of those forces. On the impression of Zhu Yuan, Ziyang female venerable rarely stays in the sacred city of Zhixian. Most of the time, she is in the super realms. It seems that Ziqiong female venerable sent a message to Ziyang female venerable in advance. Unfortunately, she is still too late. Zhu Yuan whispered. Zhuowen frowned and said, Zhixian's sacred city only has one divine warship, right? And the divine warship is the only tool to travel to the supreme realm. Then how did female Supreme Ziyang return to Zhixian's sacred city from the supreme realm? Master, you don't know. The Purple Jade Sacred City was the only divine warship in the higher realms, but there were many in the super realms. Many of the major forces in the super realms have their own divine warship. It's just that these divine warships are privately owned, so they will only be parked in the super realms. Chapter 4377. Ziyang Durin, Zilong is indeed a bunch of nonsense. The demonic cultivator named Mo Wen did save Zilong and the other three, and the attack was also told to us by Mo Wen. Originally, if we had prepared in advance, we could have kept the sacred fire source and dragged it until you arrived. But all of this was destroyed because of a series of stupid decisions by Zilong. Holy Maiden Zi Yuan also quickly came out to plead for Zhuowen, whom she had never met before. Although she had never seen Zhuowen, from the feedback given to her by Lei Jia, she knew that Zhuowen had no malice towards their Zhixian clan, so she had a good impression of Zhuowen. Zilong's face was pale and ashen. She knew that her struggle was useless. With so many people accusing her, she had no way out. Take Zilong down and put her in the death cell. According to the clan rules, she will be beheaded at the outer city gate in 3 days. Ziyang said expressionlessly. Zilong lowered her head in despair. She still wanted to argue, but her ability to speak was sealed by the great holy maiden Ziyuan, and then she was dragged down by 2 guards. After Zilong was taken away, Zhuowen and Zhu Yuan stepped into the hall under the lead of a guard. At the entrance of the hall, Zhuowen and Zilong passed by. He silently looked at Zilong, whose face was ashen, and knew that the latter should have been convicted. He was afraid that there would be no chance for her to turn over. After the guard left respectfully, Zhuowen and Zhu Yuan went to Lei Jia's team. You are Mo Wen. Thank you so much before. Holy Maiden Ziyuan was natural and graceful. Her beautiful eyes fell on Zhuowen, and she smiled kindly. Zhuowen also returned the salute, but his eyes were silently looking at Ziyang Duren on the platform in front of him and the middle-aged man who was sitting on the energy chair and enjoying himself lazily. This both of them gave him an extremely dangerous feeling, especially the lazy middle-aged man, who was even more dangerous than Ziyang Duren. Are you Mo1? Can you tell me how you knew about Hei Fa and the others attacking the divine warship? Female Supreme Ziyang stood on the platform and looked down at Zhuowen, her beautiful eyes slightly narrowed. In from the conversation between Ziyuan and Lei Jia, she learned that this young demonic cultivator was just a rogue cultivator with no background. Moreover, his cultivation was only at the peak of the great tribulation of heaven and earth. This is with such a cultivation base. How did he manage to find out about Hei Fa and the others' plan? Zhuowen frowned slightly. He was a little disgusted by Ziyang's arrogant questioning, but he also knew that he could not refuse to answer now that he was in the core of the Zishuan clan. He calmly recounted his experience in the underground black market. Of course, there were some things that he couldn't talk about, so he naturally ignored them. Purple. After hearing this, female Supreme Yang's eyes softened. Especially after learning that Zhuowen was a god array master at the third sky of the Eternal Realm, the doubts in her heart dissipated. And after asking a few more questions, female Supreme Ziyang didn't ask any more tricky questions, and Zhuowen also silently retreated to Lei Jia's group. Zhuowen was puzzled. He glanced at Ziyang, who looked calm as usual. Purple. The fall of Qiong should be an unprecedented event for the Zishuan clan. However, after returning to Zixian's sacred city, he did not feel any sadness on anyone's face. Everything seemed to be normal. It seems that this matter should have been suppressed by Ziyang. Even the great saintess and the others did not get the news. Zhuowen took a deep look at female supremacy Ziyang and thought to himself, with the alliance of 13 higher realms, he understood that even with the middle-aged man she brought, they might not be able to get the sacred fire source back. Situation. And now that the sacred fire source was in his hands, it was even more impossible. Zhuowen was very clear that in the next period of time, there would be a great chaos among the higher realms surrounding the sacred fire source. And as the ultimate beneficiary of this time, Zhuowen must keep a low profile and leave Zixian's sacred city as soon as possible. Purple. Ziyang was obviously a little absent-minded. After not getting enough clues, she waved her hand in disappointment, and the great saintess and the others got up and left. Very soon, only Ziyang and the middle-aged man were left in the depths of the hall. Ziyang, are you hiding something from me? The middle-aged man was still sitting lazily on the illusory chair. His eyes were as sharp as a knife, and he looked indifferently at Ziyang, who was a little distracted, and asked coldly. Ziyang forced a smile and said, "Sir, I am not hiding anything. Is that so? I've received messages from several great clan masters from higher realms. They said that Ziqiong has fallen." The middle-aged man leaned back and played with the communication jade talisman in his hand as he joked. Purple. Ziyang's face became incomparably pale, and her delicate body trembled. She braced herself and said, Ziqiong. Ziqiong has fallen. What is going on? The middle-aged man did not care about Ziyang's clumsy performance and continued, Ziqiong's fall also means that she failed to protect the sacred fire source. Now, the sacred fire source is no longer in the hands of your Zixian clan. Ziyang hurriedly said, Sir, don't worry, I will definitely take back the sacred fire source. I will not let you down. Good. Oh, by the way, you probably don't know how Ziqiong fell. She was killed by the combined efforts of 13 great race masters from the higher realms. And now, the sacred fire source is jointly owned by them, and they take turns to use it, and the interval is 100 years. What reason does he have to embezzle it? Luo Ye suddenly said in a low voice. Huang Ju frowned and said, Then why hasn't He Fa returned to the Black Scale Holy City? Besides, he didn't reply to my messages. I can't think of any other possibility other than him running away. Luo Ye's face darkened as she said, No, there's another possibility. That means He Fa is dead, and the divine fire source has been taken away by someone. As soon as he spoke, Huang Ju, Lan Dao, and the other experts fell silent. Hey Yong, have you checked He Fa's life tablet? Luo Ye looked down at the bewildered He Yong and asked gloomily. This, the great clan master's life tablet, has always been enshrined in his palace. I check it regularly. I haven't been to his palace these days, He Yong said with a pale face. Now take us to He Fa's palace. Luo Ye waved her sleeve and swept the flustered He Yong onto the divine warship. Then, ignoring the Black Scale Holy City's restrictions, she drove the divine warship into the depths of the city. Huang Ju, Lan Dao, and the other 11 Starlight experts were not to be outdone and followed behind. Many members of the Black Scale clan felt sorrow in their hearts. Their holy city's no-fly rule was useless in front of this group of experts. This was the sorrow of being weak. If their clan was as strong as the Zixien clan, this group of people would not dare to be so brazen. Huang Ju under He Yong's lead, a group of experts led by Luo Ye entered He Fa's palace. In the deepest part of the palace, there was a small black temple, where He Fa's life tablet was enshrined. Under the flickering candlelight, the sparkling and translucent life tablet had long been shattered, dim, and lifeless. He Fa is really dead. Luo Ye's face became extremely ugly, and the others were even more flustered and exasperated. Who is it? Who can kill He Fa? Lan Dao's breathing was rapid and his eyes were red. He felt incredulous. At this moment they were the strongest group of people below the transcendent realm, and it would not be easy for them to kill He Fa so easily. At this moment, apart from him, they could not find anyone else who had the ability to kill He Fa. Could it be that Zi Yang secretly took action? Someone asked. At that time, Zi Yang had just returned to Zixien Holy City. She did not even know that we had joined forces. Luo Ye flatly denied. Could it be that the Lord of the Supreme Realm personally took action? Huang Ju took a deep breath and said, Everyone fell silent. They were very clear about the strength of that Lord. He was extremely powerful. If he really took action, He Fa was indeed no match for him. However, what they did not understand was that Lord had no reason to take action. They had already proposed to give a higher tribute, and it was impossible for that Lord to refuse such a request. Could it be that the Zixien clan had such a good relationship with those lords of the Supreme Realm that they would take the initiative to support the Zixien clan to such an extent? First, at that moment, Luo Ye, Lan Dao, Huang Ju, and the others fell into a deathly silence. This, if the experts of the Supreme Realm were to intervene in this matter, no matter how angry they were, there was nothing they could do. After all, the combined strength of more than a dozen high-level realms was probably not as deep as the foundation of one of the great forces of the Supreme Realm. The two were not on the same level at all. That Lord replied to me. Luo Ye took off the communication jade talisman at her waist, said a sentence, and checked the message in the jade talisman. Huang Ju, Lan Dao, and the others hung their heads dejectedly. They guessed that this lord was probably warning them not to attack the Zixien clan in the future and snatch the divine fire source. He Fa was not killed by this lord. The murderer is someone else, Luo Ye said. Luo Ye suddenly put away the communication jade talisman. Her beautiful eyes burst out with a deep cold killing intent. What's going on? Huang Ju asked anxiously. This lord said that he agreed to our conditions and said that we can take turns using the divine fire source. This is also the decision of the lords behind this, Luo Ye said strangely. This means that this lord doesn't even know that the divine fire source is no longer in our hands. Then the murderer can't be this lord. Lan Dao's pupils shrank into needles as he said in disbelief. Who else can kill He Fa so cleanly? Huang Ju's brows were tightly knitted as he muttered to himself. Luo Ye stood up and said, investigate. We must find out. As long as we find out where He Fa died, I can use a secret technique to rewind the scene of the battle. Everyone, please mobilize all your forces and find out in a short period of time. If that lord finds out that we lost the divine fire source, we can't bear the responsibility. As soon as Luo Ye said this, the expressions of everyone present became very serious. They all realized the seriousness of the matter. Chapter 43-79. In the sacred city of Zixian, there were many figures gathered at the location of the divine ship. The huge divine ship, like a giant beast, lay in the middle of the open space, and on the left side of it, the dark golden door, several feet high, slowly lay down on the ground. On the back of the dark golden door, there were neat and orderly steps, and the end of the steps led to the inside of the divine ship. At this moment, at the entrance of the divine ship, there was a long line. Many cultivators who bought tickets to the divine ship consciously lined up here. This should be the last flight to Zixian sacred city. At the entrance of the open space, Zhuowen entered the place surrounded by a group of Lei Jia, Lei Yu, Chen Yin and the Juyuan. Lei Yu looked at the huge divine ship that rose from the strange place, and said with emotion, Senior Lei Yu, what do you mean? Zhuowen asked in surprise. The sacred fire source has not been recovered, and since female Supreme Ziqiong went to chase Luo Ye and He Fa, there has been no news, and the energy of this divine ship can only rely on the sacred fire source here in the higher realms. Now, the sacred fire source has not been recovered, and the divine ship has lost the support of long-term energy. The time it can sail is only this round trip. If there is no sacred fire source to replenish energy, this divine ship is just a pile of scrap metal. Lei Yu explained patiently. Zhuowen nodded secretly. So that's the case. The driving energy of the divine ship comes from the sacred fire source. No wonder the Zixian clan attached so much importance to it. Nephew Imowen, I heard from the Jiyuan that you are his Shifu, and he insists on following you. I don't object to this. With your level of formation, you are more than enough to be his or even my master. Lei Jia walked out. She looked at her grandson Jiyuan, and then looked at Zhuowen. She continued, I hope you can help me take good care of him. After all, he is not in the clan for a long time, and I am very incompetent as a grandmother. Jiyuan hurriedly comforted her and said that after he left, he would take care of himself. Senior Lei Jia, don't worry. Since Jiyuan is my disciple, I will not treat him badly. Furthermore, he can't always stay by my side. Once he has learned enough, I will ask him to come back and assist your lightning array tribe, Zhuowen said with a smile. Next, Lei Yu, Chen Yin and others bid farewell to Zhuowen and the Jiyuan one by one. When Zhuowen and the Jiyuan were about to enter the back of the long line, the great holy woman Ziyuan appeared. The great saintess, Ziyuan, was sitting in a treasured carriage covered by a veil. Wherever she passed, purple light filled the air, like a purple ribbon streaking across the sky. The carriage landed beside Zhuowen. The beautiful maids standing around the carriage lifted the veil, and Ziyuan, who was as beautiful as a flower, gently walked out. Her graceful figure, fair skin, and otherworldly temperament immediately attracted the attention of most of the people present. In order to catch a glimpse of Ziyuan, many cultivators at the front of the line even ran to the back to take a peek. Young Master Maoan, are you in such a hurry to leave? You have done a great job this time. Ziyuan hasn't thanked you properly yet. Ziyuan showed a shallow smile with a peerless charm. Zhuowen smiled slightly and said, You don't have to thank me. After all, I didn't do anything. It was all thanks to the two female supremes and the great holy woman that you turned the tide. Ziyuan was quite pleased with Zhuowen's words. Her beautiful eyes slowly fell on the long line in front of her. She smiled and said, Young Master Maoan, let Ziyuan do her best. You don't have to line up, you can enter the divine ship directly. After Ziyuan took out the communication jade and sent a message, soon 2 men walked out of the divine ship. They came to Ziyuan and saluted first, and then walked to Zhuowen and the Jiyuan. You too, since you are friends of the great holy woman, you are also our distinguished guest. We have arranged a distinguished box for you too. Please come with me. The 2 men said respectfully. Zhuowen did not refuse. After saluting Ziyuan to express his gratitude, he followed the 2 men and entered the divine ship under the envious eyes of many people. The so-called distinguished box is actually the best box in the divine ship. There are only 10 such boxes in the entire divine ship. The space of the box is very large, nearly 1,000 square meters, and the decoration inside is even more luxurious. Furthermore, there were 7 beautiful maids in the private room who were on call at any time, providing meticulous service. It's really extravagant. The Jiyuan walked around the box and couldn't help but marvel. He was shocked by the luxury of the box. You 7 leave first. If I need you, I will naturally call you. Zhuowen said to the 7 beautiful maids standing in the box. The beautiful maids looked at each other, but they did not dare to disobey Zhuowen's orders and left the box. After the maids left, Zhuowen released Shan Lingyun, Duan Jipeng, Shi Patian and others. It's too wasteful for him and the Jiyuan to occupy such a large box. It's better to share it. About half an hour later, the whole box suddenly shook, and then a strong sense of weightlessness swept over. Zhuowen understood that the divine ship had begun to set off. Not long after the divine ship left the sacred city of Zixian, Luoye, Huangju and Lan Dao slowly landed in the forest at the border of the Zixian region. There has been a big battle in this forest recently, and it's the breath of the ancient starlight level. Let's go and have a look.